Hello, everyone. This is Bill Apter, and I just finished taping an episode of Count It Out with Mike and Tyler, or Tyler and Mike. They're brilliant hosts. You've got to listen. You've got to see. Count It Out. Yeah, I endorse it. They've got the After Chat seal of approval.
Hey, everybody. This is the voice of Ring of Honor, Ian Riccaboni, and you're listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Seal of Approved Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. My name is Tyler, and I am joined, as always, by the one and only Mojito Mike. Mike, what's going on, brother?
Well, I'm good. I've got questions for our guests, so you go ahead and bring in your friend here, your student, as it were.
Well, that's, I was really nervous about doing the intro here because I was getting mixed up if I should be going, "We are live, pal," or "Attention, everybody, class is in session." We have the Prodigy, my co-host on the Classic Match Classroom, also the host / I guess co-host now of the Titantron podcast, the one and only Mr. Anthony Cerulli. Mr. Prodigy, thanks for jumping on, man. What's going on?
What's going on, fellas? It's always great to pop in here. First time I'm collabing with Mike, so great to meet
that's right.
you.
That's right.
This fuck over here I'm always collabing with, so it's great to see you again.
I would say I'm sorry, but I'm not.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're not in class today, so you can call me a fuck, but you will be writing. You will be writing lines.
I'll write
lines on the next episode. I will remember this. All right.
All right.
I was saying, normally when Anthony and I record, we record on a Friday morning. So I'm not a morning person, so I'm drinking coffee. But this is Count It Out, baby. And I got the rye flowing tonight, and we're going to have a damn good time. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Before we talk about
which makes me laugh a little bit, too, because let's be honest, I'm an old fuck. And you're used to hanging out with Anthony. You were always talking about booze and shit, but now you don't live in Canada, Anthony. You can't even touch the shit, can you?
No, I cannot. The only thing I'm rocking with tonight is some Sour Patch. That's all we have. Not sponsor, but
That does bring up my next question. As of recording, last night was Halloween.
Yes.
I know. Tyler, you were stuck at work. I brought my kid out trick-or-treating. What does a young guy like yourself do in the world's most famous city on Halloween, Anthony?
A whole lot of nothing, especially when you're in Staten Island, which is the worst part of New York. But me and my girlfriend, we were just hanging out on Halloween. I, of course, brought in the Macho Man.
There we go.
Oh yeah, brother. But just hung out, didn't really do much. It was a fun time, a nice chill Halloween. I was okay with that.
At least you have those. My Halloween costume didn't arrive from Amazon till this afternoon.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
So my neighbors are gonna be really freaked out for the next couple of days.
Because I'm getting around the neighborhood wearing it.
I'm getting my money's worth, man.
Get your umbrella. Mike was gonna go as Marty Scurll, so
exactly.
Oh, okay.
Get the umbrella, walking around, just stare at people. Maybe put it on.
I got the big black cloak too. I was just gonna go naked underneath.
Oh, there you go, Ric Flair.
Yeah,
I thought you were going as Marty Scurll, not Ric Flair.
Well.
All right. So before we get into everything, let's talk about Anthony a little bit here. Tell the people about the Titantron, which is newly returning with a new co-host. We also got Classic Match Classroom, which we plug every week here. But let's talk about the Titantron first, man. Tell us about the new format. Tell us about the new co-host. What's going on in the world of the Titantron?
Yeah. So finally, I brought it back. I keep bringing it back and taking it away. But for now, I think I've finally brought it back, and I'm happy with where we're at. Because like you mentioned, I've got a new co-host. Good friend from college, Antonio Connolly. He is he has a lot of wrestling knowledge as well. And he was just like all wrestling fans are. It was like a closeted wrestling fan until that one little conversation sparked. And it was like a 30-minute wrestling convo from there. And I was like, hey, man, just get on the podcast. I need someone to talk with. And he was all down for it. So, going forward, I'm going to be having him. We're thinking of new segments to come up with, new format. I always like to change things around, make it interesting. So, I'm going to be, we're still thinking about it. I even have possibly another co-host that I might be bringing in for a 3-man panel,
There you go.
A lot of different things changing, but I'm really happy with how the whole new format is going, and hope that viewers are going to turn their attention to the Titantron.
Yeah, and you're a busy man. You're also doing work with Turnbuckle Tavern as well, another fantastic podcast. And you're doing their SmackDown. Is that what you told me? SmackDown reports?
Yeah, so we actually just changed it. We did a whole revamp of the schedule, and now myself, the OG Fig Kid, Tom, and J-Bone from Coming Down the Aisle, we do what is called the Raw Down, which is the recap of Raw and SmackDown from the week. We talk about the best hits, what we liked, what we didn't like, a lot of what we didn't like. We just shoot the shit, talk about WWE on an AEW channel. So you get a lot of criticism on WWE from our end. It's a good time. The guys at Turnbuckle Tavern are doing some great work, and I'm really proud to be a part of that group.
For sure, man. And then, of course, the Classic Match Classroom. Got to talk about it real quick. A very fun concept that you and I are doing here. The idea was definitely stolen from Mike. I definitely stole the idea from Mike. Mike had an idea that was very similar to that. I just kind of tweaked it a little bit, and you were the perfect guy for it. Anthony and I, we had a conversation one day. And he was telling me, I've never seen all these famous matches before. And Anthony's got one of the best minds for wrestling. I have a lot of respect for your knowledge of the business, and
thank you.
We have to fix that. So I go and I find all the build up to these famous matches. I send them to Anthony, and he's watching all this stuff from the first time and giving the perspective from a 19-year-old onto the old product stuff. So
when you first started talking to me about this, my concept was taking a guy who's never watched wrestling at all. So anything he hasn't seen made sense to me because he's never watched it. When you started talking about this concept for this show with Anthony, and you started telling me that he hasn't seen some of these matches, especially when you were talking about like Austin and Hart, it blew my fucking mind, because I'm like, how could anybody not have seen this shit?
Right.
But it has to be the same way people felt about us, like in our generation, Tyler, when we were coming up, when we say, I haven't seen any of San Martino stuff.
Yeah, I've never seen stuff in Morocco before, right? It's cool.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I'm watching for the first time too, right?
Yeah. So it's really cool that every generation, and we live in such a unfortunately I came up in a generation. There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't even the internet.
You had VHS Coliseum videos.
Exactly. We traded tapes. If you miss something, you miss something, and you didn't get to see it for years again. Now it's all at our fingertips. It's the coolest time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Because anything you haven't seen, you'll be able to see.
And you know what? It's always been like, I've seen like moments like, we just did the Halloween episode with Kane's debut. And obviously, like, I say I haven't seen all this stuff, but, who hasn't seen Kane's debut? So I've seen the moment. But the thing is, I've never seen anything before that. I never saw the full match. I didn't even know that Mankind and DX were associated with that feud. All the stuff that I've never seen before.
So until now, you had never seen the very first Hell in a Cell match?
Don't ask him how he liked it, Mike.
Don't bring it up. You're gonna open a can there.
Oh,
Anthony got his first F this week on the show for not enjoying the Hell in a Cell match.
Anthony.
It's the first time we've had a disagreement on the show. I blame the internet and the short attention span for not liking the slow motion.
Tyler, what do I say every episode?
If it doesn't get you right
bored.
Away. You get bored quickly.
I get bored.
Oh.
So out of all the builds that we've done, though, what's been your favorite one so far?
Oh, shit. That's such a good question. Like, there's been a lot of them. I think, honestly, I would have to pick something from 97, not just because we've done everything from 97, but like everything there was really great.
Not too fucking boring for you there, Anthony?
Yeah, no. Everything that was fine. I funny enough, like I would say like the first half of that Taker and Shawn build where everything was just focused on Kane. God, that was really good. It was just a nice change of pace from everything because it was very like, supernatural centered. But, honestly, like ECW and Jerry Lawler was so much fun.
Mhm.
Like I'd never seen something like this before. Probably will never see it again, knowing WWE. But like that was such an interesting build. And of course, episode 1, that whole lead up to Survivor Series 96 with Brett and Austin Pillman, all that was great stuff.
Yeah, and this week we're doing, by the time this airs, we dropped this on Thursday. So this Sunday coming up will be the Montreal Screwjob we're doing on the heels of Survivor Series coming up, followed by Steve Austin's run in ECW the next couple of weeks. So we got some fun stuff on tap. Mike, we got plans for you too, buddy. You're going to definitely be on the show sooner rather than later. We got a couple ideas lined up, so it's going to be fun. We're going to segue.
I just hope you guys can keep me entertained. I get bored easy.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Something that's not going to be boring here. We got to segue away for a minute here. Anthony's not going to know what we're going to be talking about for a minute here. This Thursday is going to be the countedout7.com block for Barrie Wrestling's All Ontario Cup. We're so excited for it. We've done all the event centers, which you can check out on our YouTube. I cannot wait for this event. The lineup that we have is stacked. We're going to run through the bracket really quickly. Last week's show was really good. If you guys want to check it out, it's $10. You get the entire tournament. It's a 30-person tournament. I think it's like 8 shows. Yeah. Like it's $10, and you're going to see some of the best up-and-coming talent in the Toronto, Ontario scene. I can't put over the talent enough. You guys that have come through Barrie Wrestling are signed by Impact Wrestling now. Josh Alexander was a mainstay in Barrie Wrestling. Speedball Mike Bailey just got signed by Impact Wrestling on Halloween night. He's a Barrie Wrestling.
Guys in this tournament, such as our boy Holden Albright, has been on Impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Alexia Nicole has been on Impact Wrestling. So there's all kinds of talent. We're going to run through the brackets really quick here. The guy that I think he might be one of my picks to go all the way is Jesse V. Big monster, Anthony. You got to check this guy out. He is so talented. He's got the look. Like you could see him in NXT. You could see him with Bronson Breaker. What the hell's his name? Rick Steiner's kid. Braun Breaker or whatever his name is. Like he's got that vibe to him. He's going up with the Hot Stepper, who was on our show. We did an exclusive sit down interview with him on one of the event centers. I got Jesse V going over, Mike. What do you think?
Also got Jesse V going over, man. Nothing against Hot Stepper. The guy's got the talent, but Jesse V, he's got something to prove, especially with the story he's been telling between him and his little stable lately. He's got something to prove big time. And he's in the same block as his tag team partner. He can't lose while Mark Wheeler goes on. So he's got something to prove. Jesse V's trying extra hard this week.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got and Mark Wheeler, if you listen to our event center, he warned Jesse V to just do as I say. So, they got kind of this like Mark Wheeler's the world champion and Jesse V is like the muscle. So they got this dynamic and you can see it's almost like the Batista Triple H build coming up. You can kind of feel that. All right. It's cool. You got John Greed against Junior Benito going here. John Greed is a super nice guy. I've talked to him on Instagram Live a couple times. I have never seen him work before. I'm really excited to see him work. Junior Benito is probably one of the biggest up and comers on the Toronto scene.
100%.
I got Benito going over here.
I also got Benito, man. John Greed. I like the guy. I have seen him work, and I like the guy. He's tough. He's tough, but he's not nearly as fast or resilient as Junior Benito. Benito's got him, man. Like this isn't even a hard one for me. This is not a guess for me. Junior Benito for the win on this one.
Then you've got, and this guy's going to kind of tie in a little bit, and I'm going to tell you why here. Vaughn Vertigo. He's a former world champion. He's been the face of Barrie Wrestling for a little while here. And I'm kind of starting to get some Cody Rhodes vibes off him now, though, where the crowd is kind of cheering for other people over him for no reason, which is going to tie into our next conversation piece, Anthony. He's going up against Stratosphere. I like Vaughn Vertigo going over here as well. I think I did a sit-down one-on-one interview with Vaughn Vertigo on the last edition of the Event Center. It's super nice guy. We actually had our merch tables beside each other at the last show. We were shooting the shit. So I'm going with Vaughn, putting up the peace sign. I love me some Vaughn Vertigo.
I
Mike?
unfortunately, I'm not very familiar with Stratosphere. I don't know his work very well, so I can't really base it off that, but I do know Vaughn. I know him as a human. I know him as a wrestler. I've been watching Vaughn for years. Vaughn Vertigo for the win here.
That takes us to the final match in the first round there. You're going to have Barry Wrestling heavyweight champion Mark Wheeler going up against Young Miles. I like the champ going over here. Get the rematch in the semifinals with the guy that he took the belt from. I think there's a good story to be told there. And then, of course, you're going to get the semifinal matches as well in the tournament. It's a great 45 minutes to watch. $10, guys. Go to @Barry Wrestling.
Well, hold on. Who do you got over Benito and Jesse V?
I'm going to take Jesse V going all the way to the semifinals with Wheeler. I'm going to say we're going to see that showdown in the semifinals.
That's what I'm thinking too.
All right, we're on page here. Again, @Barry Wrestling everywhere. Check it out. Last night, as this episode drops, I've been on Instagram Live with Barry Wrestling to promote the event. So keep an eye out on the history of their channel. You can catch that. All good stuff, man. All good stuff. And let's move on to some discussion pieces, gentlemen, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Let's start. First of all, let's talk about the list that you're going to do today, Anthony. Why don't you tell everybody what the list is going to be today?
Yes, the list.
Your list today. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to give this a list. I've always wanted to give a number 7 list.
It's your day today.
Thank you. And this week we're doing top 7 missed booking opportunities from the WWE in the I said like the 2010s, but there's a few from 2020. I just kind of grouped them all together. Yeah. Just basically like things that
2010.
Yeah, basically. And it's just basically like things that WWE had the potential to really capitalize on. They had something right in front of them, and in typical fashion, they just squandered on the potential to do something with it. I've got I think a really solid 7 here and a lot of honorable mentions because there's so much that they messed up with. And I'm looking forward to giving this list. It's going to be a fun one.
That reminds me, that's kind of like if you let's say you were a wrestling fan, a real wrestling fan, you love wrestling, and right in front of you had the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time, and you just squandered it. You didn't respect it. You didn't appreciate it.
Maybe that match was a little boring, you know. Maybe it was just The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels fighting in the same corner of the cage for 10 minutes. You know, it could be.
I will say, your opinion of the Hell in a Cell match aside, I've never seen a better put together or edited podcast than what you edit for us.
I got to give you that one.
And I got to give you.
I'm happy that I'm on a podcast this week that I don't have to edit for a few hours.
Yeah, it's my turn this week. I'm going to put you over 100%, and I want everybody to know Anthony literally does everything for this show. He is the reason it's been any kind of a success. I just send you a YouTube list. And now it does take me a couple hours to put those lists together. I do my research, but the editing is phenomenal. The work that you put in to promote it, I definitely need to pick up my end of that. But it is very much appreciated. I want an on air for the record, just so you know, appreciate the work you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, before we go into our talking points this week, I do need to bring up a very unfortunate, somber note. It was announced this evening that The Miz has been eliminated from Dancing with the Stars.
No.
Well, pour one out for
there you go.
Well, sorry, Miz.
He didn't dress up as Aladdin and the Lion King to go down this.
And Pinhead. Like, he was doing so awesome, man. I was really, I don't like those shows, but I'll watch that shit if he's out there doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man.
Didn't Chris Jericho do that show one year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I guess Jericho's right. The Miz just wants to be just like him. Let's get into our first talking point here. I want to keep this one a little bit shorter because next week we're going to do a full episode on it. Yeah. But we have to talk about Ring of Honor. Terrible news coming out of this. Ring of Honor is going on hiatus after their final battle event, which will be in December. They are going to be releasing everybody from their contracts.
They have released everybody.
They have released, and there's some people that are going to roll through till next year, right?
No, they're going. So they're all staying on their contract until December. But it has been known that when your contracts are done, which is December, you're done. Okay. That's it. So they have been released. but they're riding their contracts out until the end of the year.
Right.
Yeah. Terrible news. Ring of Honor is the little engine that could for a long time. They've overcome a lot. Without Ring of Honor, you don't get professional wrestling today. Because if you take a look at any major company, whether it's AEW or the WWE, I'll use the big two there, their rosters, as I said to Kerry Silken, and his response is great, are littered with Ring of Honor talent. And then Kerry said to me, litter, what are they, piece of fucking cat shit? Kerry's the best. We got to get Kerry back on soon.
Yeah.
But you take a look at the main roster in the WWE, take a look over the last 15 years of people that have made an impact in the WWE. Take a look at NXT. You don't get any of that stuff without the work that Ring of Honor laid down. Let's start with you, Mike. I know you're the big Ring of Honor guy. You, especially the modern product, because you and I have a nice overlap with Ring of Honor, right? Because I was early Ring of Honor until about 2008, 2009. I fell off, and that's kind of where Mike picked up shortly after there. So what are your thoughts on all this? Do you think that they're going to come back?
I do. I think they'll come back in March and try to put on a show. I think they're going to plan a show and then see how that goes and then go from there. I don't think they're going to ever be Ring of Honor the way we remember Ring of Honor. I don't think they'll ever be back to, unless somebody comes out and like buys them and tries to revive them, which I don't see happening. I don't see Ring of Honor ever going back to the way we loved it.
Yeah.
What I expect to happen is, if anything, they're going to do a show by show basis, and the talent will be contracted per show. Even that, I thought, like, at first I was like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. But then the rumors started floating around that the TV library is up for sale, and that the royalties are up for sale, and all this is. So now I don't know what to believe. I really don't know what's going to happen. Unfortunately, I think nobody's going to know until March.
I'm really hoping that we see another Ring of Honor show. I love Ring of Honor. Anthony, what do you know about Ring of Honor? How much Ring of Honor do you watch? Did you watch? Where do you think that their legacy lies in professional wrestling right now?
I mean, I was never like a religious Ring of Honor fan. Like, I would go and watch some of the matches. But it was only until like recently, because I got a new TV in my room, and it just so happened that it had a channel that they would play like recent ROH shows on. So like I would check it out, and I really liked like what they were doing. And I'm talking like very recently, like this past year.
Well, they killed it during the pandemic. I don't think anybody was putting on product during the pandemic like ROH was.
I think well and away one of the better in-ring products from like an in-ring standpoint, as you know, for this past year. As far as where their legacy lies, like you said, there's no wrestling nowadays without ROH, because that's, you know, I don't have to be that big of a fan of Ring of Honor to know, like, that's where you have most of your stars nowadays coming from. And I mean, like, you could look at it any way you want, but I saw a few people saying, like, you know, AEW was part of the reason why, you know, Ring of Honor and even New Japan were starting to, you know, die down a little bit, which is a shitty way to look at it. But, you know, you can look at it from either way, I guess. But nevertheless, like, still, without Ring of Honor, there's nothing. There's no AEW. There's no WWE. Well, there is WWE, but, you know, there's no WWE that we see it nowadays, that they're relying on a lot of those indie stars. It sucks. I just don't know what's going to come about it. I think I agree with you, Mike, that they're going to take it like show by show and like really see where they lie. As far as that tape library, honestly, like, it's probably going to AEW. Like, they'll probably buy it out, because I think it's only like from 2012 on. You don't have a lot of
the
like
whole
the
library.
stuff.
Are you sure though?
I'm pretty sure it's the whole library, because Sinclair, when they bought Ring of Honor, they bought all the way back to day one. They have the whole library.
Well, then they need to get off their ass and figure out what they're doing with it. So they could. This is why they're going out. They didn't want to make any money off it. I don't know if you're familiar at all with their streaming product, Anthony, Honor Club.
Oh, right.
It's horrible. It's difficult to use. Only a fraction of the content is on there. Mm-hmm. I almost feel like if they were doing that properly and they had all the content there and it was categorized properly and it was easy to navigate, then they would have had a lot more profit off that.
I've always wondered why they had it like a stream service. Like I would go on Fight TV and I see, get Honor Club. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Honor Club? A whole streaming service for them? I mean, like,
you mentioned something about the tape library, and I'm just going to kind of play hypothetical here a little bit, right? Let's just say that hypothetically the tape library is for sale, right? We could see like a battle of who's got a bigger hammer between Vince McMahon and Tony Khan here. These guys could go to war over that tape library. That could be a fun little thing to keep your eye on.
Unfortunately, I think it'll be a matter of Vince will have that ego thing where it'll be like, as soon as Tony starts fighting for it, Vince is going to be like, oh, I don't even want it. That way it doesn't look. Yeah, that way it doesn't. That way it doesn't look like he got in a fight with Tony Khan and lost. You know what I mean?
I don't see Vince backing down if he wants something.
Well, because he already came right out and said, apparently, that this is a rumor, of course. Anything that comes off of Ringside News or Dave Meltzer, I take with a grain of fucking salt. But apparently, right away, Vince said he had absolutely no interest whatsoever in any of the stars from ROH coming over to WWE.
Yeah.
If that is true,
that's silly.
Then what? If WWE still had their WWE network the way it was 2 years ago, I would say yes, he'd be all over these tapes. Mm-hmm. But he's given the control of it completely over to Peacock, so I don't think he fucking cares.
Yeah, you guys got shafted in the States with that. I heard Peacock's terrible.
It's fucking awful. You can't search for anything. It's so bad.
Okay, so last question on Ring of Honor then. Mike, I know this one will probably be a little bit easier for you to answer, but Anthony, you just started getting into the product. So what's your guys' favorite memory or moment from Ring of Honor? A couple of them off the top of your head. Just a couple off the top of your head. I know you can't pick one. Anthony, let's go with you on this one. We'll give Mike time to think because there's a million popping in his head.
I mean, as far as like what I've seen, in this last year, like I really, really liked, what is it? The Pure division.
Mm-hmm.
It's just different. I like different,
it's good different
in wrestling. Yeah, it's very good different. Especially in the pandemic, like with the empty arenas, like that worked so well in their favor. Like it just felt so different from everything else.
And how fucking good is Jonathan Gresham?
Yeah, I like everyone in that division. I can't like name specific names like off the top of my head, but like anyone that fought for that time.
Mike Bennett was really starting to shine in that division.
Josh Woods.
Josh Woods. That's one.
It was an amazing. They really brought that division because this was a return for the Pure division. Mm-hmm. And the division, even Bryan Danielson himself is a former Pure champion, but it felt different this time, didn't it, Tyler?
It did. It did feel a lot different.
And in a good way.
Yeah, like the Pure title was known for Nigel McGuinness. That's the guy that really built that title. And him and Danielson had a great rivalry where they eventually unified the title, which is a match that I'm trying to find a storyline for that. Like I'm trying to find clips. That's what I want to do on our show on Class Match Classroom is that unified match. But it's looking like there's not a lot of stuff on it. I don't think we can get a show, but like that match is so good. Danielson and McGuinness have that great history for it. And that's where my memories are from Ring of Honor. You basically give me anything the year 2006 in Ring of Honor, and I'm all over it. Yeah. The world title reign of Bryan Danielson was where he really came into his own. He would always win matches with small packages and would call himself Mr. Small Package, which is hilarious. That's where he started the I have till 5 thing that he does, which he's brought back in AEW, which I really am happy about. You had the feud with Ring of Honor and CZW, which was crazy. Like Anthony, if you think that the WWF and ECW had their little fun feud, we got to take a deep dive into Ring of Honor and and CZW.
Oh shit!
Yeah, they had a great feud. Austin Aries and Roderick Strong were the tag champions at that time. Like anything 06 Ring of Honor is my personal favorites.
I gotta go. Pretty much everybody knows how big of a Briscoes fan I am, so a lot of my memories have to do with the Briscoes, especially their feud with Steen and Generico.
Yeah,
that first ever ladder war between those two teams will go down in history. Going to modern times, just like Anthony said, the Pure division really finished this last year off in such an amazing way. So that made me really happy. That's always going to stick with me. The other thing that always will stick with me is the feud with Scum.
Yeah.
Steve Corino is one of the greatest heels in the history of the planet. And the stuff he did with Scum and ROH.
Yeah,
is
Scum was a great
unworldly.
faction. It was Carino, it was Jimmy Jacobs, it was Kevin Steen. Matt Hardy got involved with it towards the end of it, and then Steen made a babyface turn. Cliff Compton was involved in that angle. Yeah, there was some really good stuff. They had like the 3-man trio of Steen, Carino, and Jimmy Jacobs for a while that were running Ring of Honor.
You know what you got to show Anthony one day, Tyler, is the Carino Dusty stuff from ECW.
Oh, that's fun too.
Right.
Dusty Rhodes had a cup of coffee in ECW. That's right.
Really?
American Dream,
but
baby.
it was so good. Him and Steve
good.
Corino were amazing.
Yeah, they had a bull rope match. That was really good for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
One more match I got to mention just because of how special it is to me. The Briscoes versus the Guerrillas of Destiny in 2019, the ladder war they had, only because I was there. It was the one and only ROH show I ever got to attend. So being there that night and seeing that incredibly violent match, that will always stick with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, for me, the coolest match I saw live for Ring of Honor, I've got two that come to mind. Nigel McGuinness versus Kevin Steen for the world title the first time they came to Toronto. And I saw such an awesome triple threat match. It was Tyler Black, who is Seth Rollins, versus Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. And it was awesome.
Oof.
Yeah, it was awesome. Bound for Hate in Mississauga. Yeah, it's on YouTube. Check that one out. It's super good. Yeah, it was like joke. It was Kenny Omega before he found New Japan. Like it was young Kenny.
Yeah.
But the last thing I want to say about Ring of Honor, and we're going to move on here. I want to tip my cap to them for the way that they took care of their staff during the pandemic. Everybody was paid in full, even when they weren't running shows. The precaution that they took to keep everybody safe during the level of uncertainty, paying for the Ring of Honor bubble. And you can hear Ian Riccaboni talk about that. Go back into our archives. I just want to tip my cap and just say what a class act that is. And let's hope for the best for Ring of Honor going forward.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm not ready to give up on this company.
No, I hope we see them keep going.
Yeah.
So we're going to do one more talking point here. This is something, this is kind of the reason why you're here too, Anthony.
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, Mike just kind of mentioned something off the top of his head. And I got a text message from Anthony. He's like, if you talk about this, I want to come on the show and do this.
Yes.
We talked about Go Away Heat or X-Pac Heat, if you will. And you know, kind of the recent backlash that Cody Rhodes has been getting, the Go Away Heat. A lot of people have had it. I'm going to open it up right away to you, Anthony. Like, I want to know what you think about this type of heat. If you think it's bullshit, if you think it's justified, where's your head at here? You're the one who said you want to talk about it. So I'm going to open the floor up to you first.
Oh, man. All right. So I think it's varied. I wouldn't say it's entirely justified or it's entirely BS. I think it depends on the person. Like you just mentioned, like immediately when I think of, like Go Away Heat right now, I'm thinking Cody Rhodes personally, because I can't fucking stand him. He has Go Away Heat with me.
Okay. So before you move on.
Yeah. I want to get into this.
Tell me why.
I need to know. I don't get it.
I need to know this. And I want to know if it's a generational thing. And I don't keep going. I don't mean to keep picking on you because you're your age. But
no,
but let's be honest. You're young. I'm old enough to be your fucking father. So
you don't have to call him daddy, though. I promise.
Trust me, I was not going to.
You're not supposed to tell him.
Oh, sorry.
He's supposed to figure that out for himself.
I'm curious about this too, though.
So I want to know: is it like are we
what
just two different kind of fans? I get it. I get what there is to hate about Cody. I do, but why now? Everybody was ready to suck. Everybody was ready to suck his dick 2 years ago. What's changed? So
I liked Cody when he was doing like the undashing stuff with the mask and everything in the paper bags. Cause character, I just love that. Even like I wouldn't say the Stardust stuff I really enjoyed, but like fucking like whatever doing. Yeah, he pulled it off. Like when he was with Goldust in the tag team. Like I love that. Once he left WWE, I just could not get behind him. And especially in AEW, because for me, Cody I just don't get what he's trying to get across himself as. Like, he comes out, everyone has to either come from one tunnel or the other tunnel on the sides. He is the only one that gets the middle tunnel. All right. Even Arn has to come from one of the side tunnels. All right. He gets all this fucking pyro. You know, he gets this huge entrance. His wife comes down to the ring, and this was more so like, you know, earlier on in AEW. It's kind of been taken down a little bit nowadays, but like, you know, you look at it like, he's always been put as the underdog in stories. And that's because he presents himself as that. Like, you know, he's in a story, oh, if I can't beat Jericho, I'm going to never fight for the title again. But the thing is, he always is in favor, and he always has the advantage because he can use his weight belt and it's not a DQ. He can do all this stuff. He has Arn telling him what to do and scouting his opponents. Plus, if he gets in any type of shit, he has the entire Rhodes family, or whatever, the Nightmare family, that comes out and clears the air for him. You know what I mean? So he always is presenting himself as this underdog, but at the same time, as a babyface, he is still this, juggernaut in Cody Rhodes that I'm supposed to cheer for him because, you know, you're trying to relate to me. But then again, you're cutting all these unrelatable promos and you're acting like you're this, you know, common man and everything. Like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot relate to you at all.
I get it. I do. I totally fucking get it. But that, to me, you're hating his character right now. No, it's not, because he's a face.
Yeah,
but
that's go away heat.
Is there faces and heels right now? Like,
yes,
there's a lot. There's a lot of middle
is.
ground there. I think when Cody comes out and says, "I'm never going to turn heel again," doesn't do him any favors, because that makes me not want to cheer for him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I could see that if he was hinting at being a heel. For me, he's not hinting at anything.
Man. I think he's working us.
That's more on social media for me. Honestly, when you're on TV and I'm seeing what he's doing, it's full baby face.
So, Mike, give me a rebuttal here, because I've got my own take on Cody that's completely
you're
different.
not going to hear much of a rebuttal, because thing is, with me, I didn't like Cody Rhodes to begin with. My problem lies with the millions of people who were sucking his dick 2 years ago and now hate him because he's a face. That drives me nuts. It's the same thing that happened in WWE. Oh, we hate Roman Reigns. We hate Roman Reigns. We hate Roman Reigns. Oh, he's a heel now? Let's cheer him. It's the same shit all the fucking time, and I'm so fucking sick of it. It's cool to boo the one you're not supposed to boo. I hate that. And I can never tell when it's that or when it's actual go home heat anymore. X-Pac back in the day, that was fucking go home heat.
I loved X-Pac, for the record.
They hated that motherfucker.
I never hated X-Pac. I always
neither did I. But
I was a scrawny little fuck, so like, of course I loved him, right?
Yeah.
Like, before I got fat in my old age, I was skinny little twig. Like, loved X-Pac.
But nowadays, I do think there's an element of the fans just trying to get themselves over at Cody's expense.
I don't think it's that. I think that the fans shit on Cody because of his job title. I think that he gets his go away heat because he's an executive vice president.
Oh, because they shit on the Bucks and Kenny that hard, right?
But Cody presents himself in that role more than the Bucks and Kenny do. If you were, you know what I mean? They don't.
He's got a whole TV show about him. That's another thing.
And the Young Bucks don't come out here on air and say, I'm an executive vice president. Kenny doesn't say it on air, but Cody does. People are taking Triple H heat, which is another form of go away heat, which he's had for a long time as well. And they're putting it on Cody now because of what their job titles are. That's my take on this. If Cody wasn't an executive vice president, I don't think anybody would shit on him. And I think people are shitting on him because of that. And that's where I think his go away heat comes from. Now, let's break that down a little bit. Cody is in a role of power, right? What has Cody done to abuse this power? Nothing. Cody has done nothing but make stars in AEW. You know, he's taken himself out of the title picture right from month 3 of the company. You know what I mean? Him and Jericho were on one of the first pay-per-views. He lost a stip, and he's stuck to that stip for 2 years now. You got to tip your cap to that. Not one world title program, not one main event program for Cody in 2 years.
So I'll bring it back to you with this. Is Cody really the one that's making the stars? Because you look at it like who he's went against. Darby Allin. I don't think, he really needed Cody.
Cody was a huge part of getting Darby Allin over. Cody put him over clean for the TNT title.
Another thing that I can't stand about Cody is that the moment is never just about the person that he's getting over. He always has to fucking slide himself into it.
Yep.
He's got to go on one knee with the belt. Like, I understand making stars.
That's the Hulk
Is Cody
Hogan
really
move.
the one to make the star? Like, just a few years ago, he was the one that people were making stars. He was the one that was being made the star. Now, all of a sudden, he's the one. This should be something that Jericho's doing, where,
Jericho has done that. And
right, exactly. I'm saying, like, this
but
is
look
his
at Cody,
role.
though. Cody has put over Darby Allin. He's put over, in my opinion, he's the main reason why MJF is as big as he is. They had that program, and Cody really, really gave to MJF. He let MJF shine.
MJF was going to be a star regardless, man.
Yeah, but Cody helped him get there faster.
If it wasn't Cody, it was going to be somebody else.
Cody put over Malachi Black in a squash match when he debuted. Brody Lee.
Yeah,
Cody saved
I will
him.
give you Malachi.
And then he made it about himself. He took off his fucking boots in the ring and said,
Yeah.
That was stupid. That was stupid. I agree with that. I thought that was a terrible angle, but I thought that they gave Malachi.
I'll give you Brody. Give you Brody.
And they gave Malachi more heat after that when he came out and laid Cody out again and made people hate Malachi even more. So Cody got squashed by Malachi and then was going to do this I'm stepping away thing. And Malachi laid him out again. That's more heat for Malachi.
I feel like that would have worked better if it was the next week. You had to do it right after and steal his thunder.
Well,
I forgot about the 7-minute squash.
I think the boot thing was stupid in general. I don't like when they do fake retirements. That's why nobody respects the stipulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brody Lee, Cody rejuvenated Brody Lee's stale character in AEW.
Sure,
that character
I will give
sucked.
you that. Yeah, it did.
I don't know. I don't see the hate for Cody. I don't get it. Cody Rhodes has cut some of the best promos in that company's history. You look at his match with Dustin after that was done, and Dustin's covered in blood. I need a tag team partner. I want my brother. Like, if that doesn't fucking tug at you,
that was amazing.
that was fantastic. Look at his promo that he cut after the cage match against Wardlow. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that before. It was off air, and he just picked up the microphone, and he was just having a moment where, he was thinking about his dad and the history in Atlanta, and he was emotional. And Cody is the only guy that's tugging on real emotions for me in that company.
I think it goes down to two, and I know you're not going to agree with me. I think Anthony might. At the end of the day, you look at a guy like Cody Rhodes and you say, would I be buddies with that guy?
I would be.
I know you would be, but you also.
I've
not
met
a very
Cody
good
Rhodes.
person.
I've met Cody Rhodes. He's such a nice guy.
Yeah, I'm sure he is, but he just looks like a piece of shit.
Yeah,
so do you, but I'm friends with you.
Well, I said you're not a very good person.
I mean, like,
no, he does not present himself like somebody I'd want to hang out with.
No,
right.
not at all.
I think we're going to pass on Cody. Let's go to somebody else.
Let's get off Cody for a minute. Let's go through a little bit of the history of Go Home Heat here. I wrote down a bunch of names, and I want us each to talk about whether or not the heat on these people was actual real Go Home Heat and whether it was deserved or not. Now, I don't know how true this is, but from what I've read, from what I can get, long before X-Pac, there was something called Boss Man Heat.
Oh, the big Boss Man had Go Away Heat. I could see that with Boss Man.
Apparently, that's where Go Home Heat really started.
Like heel Boss Man in 99, face Boss Man.
Face Boss Man back in the late 80s, because they already had heel Boss Man at one point, and then it became face Boss Man. They didn't want him. So
I never heard that before.
I just read that today.
I mean, I was 7 and I loved his theme song, so he didn't have any heat with me.
Around the same era, early 90s, we could all say that Evil Doink is probably one of the greatest characters ever. But Face Doink, he had some fucking Go-Home Heat.
Face Doink had Go-Home Heat for sure.
Yeah. Anybody who you can go on YouTube and watch a match he had with Waylon Mercy. Anybody who gets Waylon Mercy over, they were within a minute of the match, the crowd is chanting "Kill the clown."
I do remember those chants. Yeah, Yeah, Doink the
Jesus.
Clown. I'll give you. I think he had some babyface Doink the Clown. I think the heel
Yeah.
Doink the Clown character.
Had the right heat.
If Anthony, if
Right.
your list went back to the '90s, heel Doink the Clown should be on your list for missed opportunities in WWF.
Yeah, I could see that. Like even watching, like I always go back and watch the first episode of Raw,
Mhm.
like face Doink in the crowd. I was like, fucking get this guy off my screen. Let me just watch the Steiners in peace,
No,
for
no,
God's sake.
No, dude, that was Damian Demento.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, him too.
heel Doink was so cool because like he would come out and like make balloon animals and give them to like a little kid. And then when the match ended, he would pop the balloon and the kid would start crying and
fuck.
shoot. Like
he was
yeah,
genius.
heel
Matt
Doink was
Bourne,
great.
Matt
Matt
Bourne,
Bourne, yeah.
was fucking before his time, man.
Yeah.
Let's move to 1996, early 1997. Die Rocky Die.
Yeah, Rocky.
Early Rocky Maivia, man. They tried so hard to get him over as a face, and it just wasn't going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah,
that crowd hated that man.
There's a talking point that we'll be talking about, Anthony, that's going to air on Class Match Classroom this week, where The Rock is cutting a promo about overcoming racism, and the whole arena is chanting "Rocky sucks" as they cut to like these white rednecks wearing Austin 316 shirts.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh God.
it was be prepared for a lot of racism talk this week. But I get the Rocky heat a little bit. They really tried hard with him. I remember at the Slammy Awards, they put him with like the supermodel. Like, it was really fake. And The Rock was really fake at this point.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. He
Yeah.
didn't know who he was yet, right? So,
Yeah, I could see early Rock getting that heat.
Early 2000s. I truly don't think the Edge ever had go home heat,
Yes, he did.
but Lita sure as fuck did.
No, Edge had go home heat when he came back.
I don't feel
We
he had
booed
it as
him out of
much.
his own hometown at SummerSlam, man, before he turned heel. I was part of that.
I don't think he
2004
had as much as Lita did.
In 2004, the summer of 2004, Edge came back from a broken arm, right? He was redrafted on Raw, and he came back with this Rob Zombie music. Come on,
I love that theme.
babyface. Great theme song. Absolutely. Edge, for the record, I think Edge might have the history of the best theme songs of all time in wrestling.
Yeah, he's
like
definitely
every
up there.
theme he had was really good.
Mhm.
That's a sidebar for a different episode. But Edge had go home heat. He was just like, after his match with Randy Orton in July at Vengeance, which was a fantastic match for the IC title, he was hated until he turned heel in November. Like, we booed him in Toronto. We did
Jeez.
that. We're savage assholes. But when we chose Batista over him, before Batista was cool, like before he was like doing his slow turn, we chose Batista over Edge.
Wow.
Edge had go home heat for sure.
So what was it about him that you guys booed? You just got
He was
tired
just
of
a
it?
loser. Like, he just came out like doing nothing. Like, he was just a boring baby face.
The only
he was
time,
stale.
yeah, the only time I ever hated the Edge character was during like around the time he was teaming with Hogan.
Mhm.
I didn't like Edge in that era.
Yeah. And the next year he was still doing the same thing. That's when we got booed with him, right?
Mhm.
Lita, on the other hand, I think Lita had real heat. I don't think she had go home heat.
Well, she had real heat, but it wasn't based on her character. It was based on the fact that
Yeah, but they made it her character.
Yeah.
She
I was
had
just
real-
watching that today, the Bite This.
Yeah, right. Where Matt Hardy called in, right?
Yeah.
Lita had real heat, and Lita saved Edge's career. How's that for a full circle?
yeah, no shit. Moving on to Vladimir Kozlov.
Oh shit.
That was some go home fucking heat
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Except for when he was with
that-
Santino.
That's the guy.
Yeah,
you almost
that saved him.
Yeah. You almost
That
have to
guy, by the
feel
way,
bad
is
for the guy.
shredded right now. Have you
Oh, yeah?
seen
He
recent
looks
stuff?
unrecognizable. It's
Yeah.
insane.
I got Jeff Russo in his TNA days. Jeff
Who?
Russo, Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett has.
especially during his last NWA title run.
See,
they wanted him gone.
Jeff Jarrett in TNA is justifiable go home heat, whereas
Mhm.
Cody in AEW, I don't get it. Cody is like in almost the same spot as Jarrett. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
they are the same position. Jarrett might have had a little bit more power than Cody, but like if Cody really wanted to twist Tony Khan's arm, you know he could position himself anywhere he wants in that company, and Tony will go with it.
Yeah.
Jarrett did that. Jarrett buried everybody. You're skipping one, by the way, but we'll see if you get to it.
What do you mean skip?
Well, you're in. Where are you? What year are you in right now?
I'm not in years.
Oh, I thought you were going by year.
No.
How the fuck do you figure years?
Why wasn't really? I've been drinking.
Oh, but then I probably skipped. I only have 2 left anyways. I didn't
Ah.
write. We're not doing a top 7 here, piece of shit.
Well,
I wrote a couple. This is a discussion point. I wrote a couple down. God, you're a piece of shit. I wrote down a big one because this is one we're all gonna laugh about because we got it. Doesn't matter what company he was in. If they put him on camera, he had it, and that's Vince Russo.
Yeah.
that's your boy,
Yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah.
My
Bro.
boy.
Bro.
You can't be talking about my BFF like that. You got Bill Apter. I got Vince Russo.
For the record, Anthony, I will always hang my hat, even though I never talked to the guy, that I was on a podcast with Vince Russo. with
Yes,
that one
that's
episode
a good resume point right there.
Yeah,
I was on an episode with Vince Russo.
Yeah. I laughed at that because you played me more than you played Russo on that.
I know, right? I only
got a
had
couple
30 minutes with the guy.
I got a couple messages from like a couple of our colleagues after, and they're like, "You were so great! Like, I love that Anthony put you over Russo." Russo.
I got it.
You can argue that both Cena and Reigns have it or had it. I don't know if it's real go home heat or just the fans
Hijacking.
jumping on a fad.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm with you on that.
Cena early 2010s for me. Like that's when I was really watching. And like I wasn't
when
really
he was
into
feuding
it.
with like Laurinaitis and like Randy
Yeah.
Orton forever. I had
Yes.
some go home heat with Cena as well.
Mhm.
All right. I got the last name I have, and then Tyler, you can throw some down.
I have 2.
But the
I have
last
a
name I
few.
have is a guy. I'm going to call him the biggest survivor of go home heat in history because he's had it, he's beaten it, then he's gotten it again.
I know
then
who
he's
you're going,
beaten
yeah.
it
I
again.
think I know.
We got to talk about the Miz.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
say, is he Dancing with the Stars?
Did
The Miz had go home heat with the locker room. I was listening to Mike Chioda on the JBL
he
podcast
did he
today.
tell the Chris Benoit story?
Yeah, where Benoit threw him out of the locker room.
For
He
eating,
was, he was
eating
eating
chicken wings,
chicken
his bag, yeah.
over Brad Armstrong's bag or Scott Armstrong's bag.
Mhm.
Benoit made him dress, and then Bradshaw laughed. He's like, "I took all the heat for that. It was Benoit."
Yeah, no, Benoit didn't let Miz in the locker room for a good like
Couple
2-3
months,
months.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Miz is a
but-
good call.
But Miz, like, how many times did he bounce back from it?
Early Miz
Right.
was go home heat for me when he was on the chick magnet. Like I hated
yeah,
that.
that ooh,
That was
wow,
bad.
That
Yeah.
shit, that was
Miz is awesome. You know, I'm the Miz and I'm awesome with Riley. Oh man, what a stud. And then Miz has been go home heat with me pretty much since he partnered up with Ric Flair.
no, okay.
He hasn't been saved for me. And it's just
Really with the Hollywood with Mizdow? You didn't like that?
I liked him and Maurice. Was that after Flair?
Oh yeah.
I like when him and Maurice were together and they were feuding with Cena. That was good stuff.
Mizdow
Mizdow was
really
good. Mizdow was
Mizdow
good.
was great.
But then there was like this weird transition after that where he just went back to
he was
the
with
Miz
like
and
the
I'm awesome.
Axel and Bo Dallas for a while.
I
It was
like that as well. I didn't mind that, but he had this weird thing where he was like just went back. It was like shortly after that when he didn't have Maurice, he didn't have them, and he was just like, I'm the Miz and I'm awesome. It's like, you've done this already. You need something different. And
Yeah.
for me, John Morrison and the Miz together is instant turn the channel. I don't find them entertaining.
It's
together.
bad. It
I
was
don't-
so bad. I was
I've
so
never
happy
found
when
them.
Morrison came back because I thought it was going to be something. And now it's weird because the two of them together was so bad of go away heat. But now that the Miz is doing like Dancing with the Stars and shit, and it's just Morrison, whenever I see Morrison, now it's still kind of like hanging on to that go away heat that I'm like, I just don't want to see you in the position that you're in right now. Like, just please get off my screen.
Yeah, he's got some go away heat for me right now.
Yeah.
Nia Jax has got go
Oh,
away heat
That's
for me.
the one I forgot.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And the big one that I think that you didn't touch on is Triple H had some real serious go away heat in around WrestleMania 19.
Yeah.
Right from WrestleMania 18 until he was done. He just squashed everybody.
I
He
know.
did bad business. And
You know I'm a massive Triple H fan, and it hurts me to admit it and to agree with that. But it's undebatable. You're 100% right on that. I mean, some people will go ahead and try to argue that he's had it his entire career. I call that bullshit.
yeah.
He's had it for that short period of time.
Well,
The period of time that
couple
you
years,
blocked
man.
out, I would say was
I think he's the reason why people give it to Cody now, though. I think they draw those comparisons.
Yeah.
I really think that people remember
it's
Triple
part
H.
of it, but
I think that has something to do with it. I really do. I have a huge one, but Anthony, I know you've got a couple, so lay them on you, and I'll bring it home with my big one.
Yeah. I had a few really just from recent years because that's really like what I'm more familiar with. Eva Marie is probably at the top of that list. Like even
I
like
Eva Marie.
Yeah, of course. But I remember just in NXT when they tried to bring her down to NXT to do some work with like Bailey and Nia Jax, like she was getting so much. I enjoyed it, but like you could tell that everyone was like, please.
But that's why
away.
Like they were smart to do that. It was intentional, right? Like
that's
I like
true.
that.
That's a good.
That
is a good point.
That was like heat. How about Dana Brooke? That's cool.
Dana Brooke. Yeah. Yeah, it sucks to say because I'm a low key Dana Brooke fan.
I never saw the hype in her. I got to admit,
she cut a really good promo against Ronda, and then that was it. I thought they were
getting go home heat at the end. Too.
Oh yeah, definitely around that Survivor Series.
Yep.
Yeah.
Early 2015 Roman goes without saying. Really like majority of 2015 and 2016 Roman. What else? Baron Corbin is a huge one. He's another one that
Happy Corbin.
I was gonna say he's another one that survived home heat.
The minute he came up, like in NXT, I thought he was going to be a big fucking deal.
They did a great job with him in NXT.
Yeah. The minute they shaved his head, put a dress shirt on him, and said, "You're going to be this corporate guy,"
fucked.
Yeah, done.
And one more drink off him.
Yeah. But once they did the broke ass Baron Corbin, that was
good. I like that.
But one more, and you mentioned like someone that was saved from Go Away Heat twice. Like, I don't know what you guys think about this. For me, he was saved from it twice in 1 year. 2019 Seth Rollins. For me,
he was getting it
because he was getting it when he was with Becky, and he was getting it when he was with the Fiend because he was unbearable. Like even a little bit of that Brock
to fight
feud.
Vince McMahon after that match.
Did
you hear that, Mike?
It was
I did.
so bad. He saved because at the beginning of the year, everything with the Rumble, he was doing great. Then he won the title. It was downhill. He's kind of saved himself with that Brock feud, but then downhill again with the Fiend. And then it was like that, whatever the Messiah gimmick that he picked up. And then he was fine from there on. But fuck, that year was tough for him.
So I've got two I'll mention. Billy Gunn had a lot of go away heat for a long time.
I don't know what Billy Gunn did, but Billy Bitchcake sure as hell did.
Yeah. And for me, the absolute biggest go away heat of all time for me is specifically Shawn Michaels, but D-Generation X 1997. They need to fuck right off.
Yeah.
I've watched way too much DX97 lately. I can't get through it.
That was my obsession when I was 16. Though,
go back and me too. Go back and rewatch it. I cannot get through a Shawn Michaels promo anymore in 1997. I can't. And if you want to hear a detailed take of that, tune in to the classic match classroom. Anthony, where do they find that? At what?
You can find the graphics on the screen. I'm kidding. You can find it. Wrong show. You can find it anywhere on YouTube and on Twitter at CM Classroom, not to be confused with CM Punk, and on Instagram at Classic Match Classroom. You can find all of our episodes every Sunday.
And there is also always a link at www.canada7.com.
Make sure we hit that in every episode as well. But yeah, I'm going to go on a huge rant this week on DX97, and that'll be the teaser. If you want to hear me go off on that, and I'll be early in the morning. I'm going to be pissed off, so it's not going to be. I can't handle DX97. Shawn Michaels just ruins everything. Triple H is like a little bitch boy, like Shawn, Shawn. Like China was cool. And Rick Rude.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Rick Rude.
All right, man. Well, that was fun, guys. I enjoyed that. Let's get into Anthony's list here. I know we're running a little bit Broadway here, but I'm having a good time, and let's keep the good time rolling, man.
Oh, yeah. All right. So let's get into this list. I have been planning this idea for a list for a while now, and it was really fucking hard to narrow it down to 7. I'll do the honorable mentions. You guys do them at the end. So I'll keep the honorable mentions for after the 7, but we'll jump right into this because we got the top 7 missed booking opportunities for the WWE in the last 10 or so years. So number 7, I'm going to go with something that I was really looking forward to, like mid 2010s, around 2016. Just the idea of the cruiserweight division, because they brought it back. The Cruiserweight Classic, probably one of the best tournaments that WWE's put on years, maybe ever. With the quality of matches, the presentation, it felt different. You had Morrow and Brian Danielson on commentary. It just felt so good different together. They were great. That was probably, like, I'm not a huge Mauro Ranallo fan, and I go on record on saying that, but like his Cruiserweight Classic stuff, like top notch. It was just such a great chance for them to evolve with the times and to do what so many other companies were both before and after them were doing wrong with WCW. And Tyler, we saw a lot of that with the Cruiserweight division in WCW around 97, and what a lot of companies were doing right, of course, with TNA and now AEW, but like making the Cruiserweights different from everything else. Their presentation of it was so just bad. You had like the purple ring ropes and like the little logos on. You would get like one segment on Raw when they were just on Raw. And then they moved over to the separate show, which I think was a huge downgrade for them as well, because like now you're in a situation where you need to build up people, be it with characters or storylines, and they just didn't do it. They relied a lot on the in-ring action, and sure, a lot of it was great with Ali and Buddy Murphy and all these different guys. I loved King Neville. I thought he was doing some of his best work as a heel. Enzo was fun when he had the title, but like, tell me something else from 205 Live outside of those two. You know what I mean? Like, Triple H was just I think it was Tony Nese that he was mentioning Triple H's original vision, that it was supposed to be kind of similar to what AEW is doing now with the rankings and, just making it different. But like it could have worked so well, and somehow it just fell flat on its face.
That's a great number 7. I could even see this being lower.
How the hell do you bring in a tournament like that? You bring in a guy like Tyson Dukes and you job him out and you don't sign him to a contract.
Ho ho loon. Yeah, you even had Brian Kendrick in there, for God's sake.
I know.
Tyson
and he pulled out a burning hammer in the fucking tournament.
We almost had like what I wanted to call the Kendrick Sons. I thought we were gonna get a big like new Brian Kendrick.
I was ready to see Ezekiel Jackson back with the white getup and doing his little dance. Oh man, but such a bad missed booking opportunity.
I could, it just goes to show the fact that this is just your number 7. This is huge. Like, this could easily be a number 1. You know what I mean? With
10 honorable mentions.
They really did drop the ball on this. I think once Vince got his hands on it, I think this was a Vince fuck up for sure.
Yeah,
which you can say about pretty much anything in the last time. So
I guess all of it is a Vince fuck up, right? It's his final call, but they took something special that had the wrestling world talking.
How often do you hear about, especially Triple H? Triple H will take something and be like, okay, this is what I want to do, and it sounds awesome. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to be the greatest thing we ever heard. And then he hands it to Vince, and Vince is like,
NXT, the whole thing.
We hear about it all the fucking time.
So before we go to number 6 here, I'm going to ask you guys both this question. The 205 Live tournament ends, right? Who won it? TJP won the tournament, right? Mm-hmm. If you had the book, what do you do with that division right now?
Honestly, if I'm booking it, you have a 3-hour Raw. You can find time to just make the Cruiserweight division fill into Raw, and it'll take a lot of time away from the already stagnant roster that they had around that 2016 period. Just give me some characters. You could do stuff with TJP, and you had a lot of guys that they brought in. Like I said, like Brian Kendrick was in the mix of things. Rich Swann was great. Yeah, Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, some great characters. Build them up a little bit, but keep them within the mix of things, like kind of what WCW 97 was doing, but actually like care about it. And they just didn't whatsoever.
Mike, what are you doing if you got the book?
The 3rd hour of Raw is Raw Underground with cruiserweights.
And Omos as the bodyguard.
And Vince Russo is the GM instead of
fucking yeah.
So everything is on a pole.
Oh,
Everything.
my
Everything is on
God.
a poll.
I am saying that they should have finished that tournament and put that cruiserweight title in NXT.
Yeah.
I think it really would have shined in NXT.
Yeah, because
they only have the 2 belts there, right? The 3 belts with the tag team titles, right? I think they would have got time to shine. I think they would have developed angles towards it. I think if they put it in NXT, it would have done well.
And the best thing that they could have done, sign Silver King. But that's another story for another day.
There you go.
Sign
That's
Silver
Anthony.
King and Lil Guido. But that's
Anthony's
a whole other
boys.
show.
Anthony's boys since we've started the show is Silver King, Little Guido, and Brian Pillman.
yes. My boys list is slowly building
The
up.
boys list.
But nevertheless, let's move on to
All
number
right,
6.
his-
Well,
the number
one of
six.
these days, we'll get Anthony up north to a Barry wrestling show, and his boys list is going to multiply quite a bit.
Oh, I'm sure
there
of
you
it.
go.
I'm just from the way that you were describing some of those guys for the tournament, I was like, I need to watch some of these guys. But can they contend with Silver King? That is the true question.
2 more wins and he'll be promoted to Gold King.
Love it. Number 6. Easy. Shinsuke Nakamura. You sign him, he is at the peak of his popularity as the king of strong style in New Japan. Had probably 2 of the best matches that I've ever seen back-to-back Wrestle Kingdoms with Ibushi and Styles.
Yeah.
You bring him into a huge, beautiful debut. They did everything so perfectly, presenting him as a huge star in NXT, doing the phenomenal match in Dallas with Sami Zayn. His NXT run was okay. He held the title like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
he was doing
him and Joe had a good run.
Yeah, they had a great program. And, everyone wanted to see him on the main roster, see him go against Cena and, Orton and all these different guys. And you bring him to the main roster, and his first fucking opponent is Dolph Ziggler. Boom. Done right there.
Does Dolph Ziggler have go away heat?
Oh, you know what? For me, yes. 100%.
I love Dolph.
I can't stand him.
I'm
sorry, but I can't stand him.
I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say that I really felt they dropped it on Knack until WrestleMania.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
AJ
what I was
Styles
getting to.
feud, right?
Yeah, because him winning the Royal Rumble was the right move.
Oh, yeah. Well, winning the Royal Rumble was huge, but then they put him in a position where, you need him to win. And it's obvious that they weren't going to let him succeed, and that was going to hurt him a lot. So then why put him in that position to begin with? You could hold it off for a year. You could do something else.
They seem to really believe that this heel turn was going to work on him. And the writing was on the wall from day one that it wasn't going to work.
Yeah. And
everybody knew it wasn't going to work.
And you had multiple chances where you could break out from that. The heel turn didn't work, sure. But now we have this for him. And they just didn't go all in. They never gave him a world championship run for whatever
they had him job in the
reason.
Jinder Mahal.
God, it was so bad.
That's what killed him.
That whole year from 2017 to 2018, you had multiple chances to put the title on him, and they just did not do it. And then it was just a matter of mid-card titles, putting him in the tag team with Cesaro. I would go as far as to say that I think they messed up Nakamura more than they did with Cesaro, because you had an established name in Nakamura who was a star in Japan. He comes over to the States. Sure, he has a good NXT run, but he's bodied from then on out. Cesaro, he didn't really have that name to him as much as Nakamura did, and he was fucked still. But shit, how could you go wrong with Shinsuke?
Like, if you take a look at that SummerSlam run, he had that program. This is, like I just said, where I think he died against Jinder Mahal, right?
Right.
Well, like a month later, they had AJ Styles beat Mahal for the title. So why not just flip it? Why not have Shinsuke beat AJ why not have Shinsuke beat Jinder at SummerSlam and have AJ win the Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
And then have AJ beat Shinsuke for the belt at WrestleMania, and Shinsuke turns heel.
I
think it would have changed everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't understand how you could do that to someone who has the talent of Nakamura. You have even a chance Nowadays, in 2021, you had the shot to put him up against Reigns, and sure, he didn't have to win, but you didn't even get the match between Reigns and Nakamura when he went through that whole gauntlet. They were teasing it, they never did it, and now he's stuck with Rick Boogs, which I like Boogs, but still,
I don't mind him either.
Yeah, but still, it's like he's on the back burner now, and it's always going to be that he was always put on the back burner, and I can't stand it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I can't find it, but I'm looking for this thing that Tyler, you actually sent to me not long ago, and it had like a list of matches that Knack had in the last 12 months, and I think there were, and I think there was like, I think so, and I think there was like 3 names on it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was like all Baron Corbin. Yeah.
That's a huge thing too.
Yeah,
it's the same opponents all the time.
But yeah, and that's my beef with the current product. It's no hype. It's repeat thing.
Yeah,
like for instance, as we record this on Monday Night Raw tonight, Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair fought. Why are they fighting on Raw? Oh, I'm shaking everything on my. I'm so sorry. I hate. That's a pay-per-view.
You're gonna blow your mic out again. Oh no.
Sorry. Did I unplug my mic? I shouldn't have done all that.
No, you're good.
That's a pay-per-view match that should never be on Monday Night Raw.
It was a pay-per-view match. It was on a pay-per-view, and now they're doing it again.
Give me your number 5. I'm getting
so dumb. Number 5. This is a fun one. So I said that I had one from 2020. Here it is. Retribution, and I'm putting it with the Hacker on SmackDown, because for me, watching in the pandemic, the Hacker was one of the most intriguing concepts that they could have come up with, because they could have used that to help them out so much during the pandemic.
GTV 2020.
Yeah, I mean, like you had the ability to like have an added layer to a lot of your storylines and kind of help progress development in the characters and storylines. And they were doing that with everything with Mandy Rose and Otis, which I love that story, by the way. But the Hacker kind of helped with that. And they just dropped the angle. And like, I think everyone was kind of expecting it to be Ali, but the way that they went about it in looping Ali in by having him in a random backstage promo, just say, oh, by the way, do you remember like a few months ago when there was a Hacker on SmackDown? I was the Hacker. And then just doesn't mention it from there on out. So just dumb. So that's the Hacker. And then Retribution, like I didn't have an issue with the members that they picked, nor did I really have an issue with like giving them the new names and everything, which is weird that I wouldn't have an issue with that. But regardless, I didn't like the lack of direction and reasoning as to why they were together. Like I shouldn't have to go onto Twitter to find out why these guys are a team. And that's what they're doing here, is that they're literally
they just look like a bunch of high school kids. Listen, Mike, I'm going to let you take this one because that I refuse to talk about Retribution on this show.
I was wondering why. I was wondering why you never told Anthony that we don't say the R word on this show.
Yeah, we don't say the R word.
Oh no, did I curse? I'm so sorry.
Before you and I knew each other and before we came into contact with each other, I have a huge beef with Retribution.
Every week I had to hear this shit.
I refuse to speak about them. If I wanted to watch a bunch of high school kids fucking spray paint a building, I would fucking watch a bunch of, like, they were the least intimidating faction of all time. I'm not talking.
Listen, man, listen. I really, really like that story. When it was called the Nexus, you know, when it was done properly.
Stay tuned.
You know, you took something, and this is 2 cases. Both these things you talked about was you took something that somebody else either did or wanted to do, and you fucked it up. The Hacker thing, that was Sami Callihan, man. Sami Callihan. When he was in WWE, he pitched that gimmick to Vince. That's what he wanted to do. Yep. Vince said no. Sammy left and went to Impact. Then Vince said, "Oh, let's do this gimmick." Fucking so he takes it. If he would have left that in Sammy's hands, Sammy would have done wonderful things with that gimmick, because Sammy is a fucking genius. I'm not taking anything away from Mustafa Ali. He could have done something very nice with that gimmick had they allowed him to do it. But just like you said, it was an afterthought. It was an afterthought. You know, it was ridiculous. Just like you said, he was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, that was me." And you know, that was a bigger letdown than Hornswoggle being the illegitimate son, or Hornswoggle being the general manager,
Or Hornswoggle. being
Hornswoggle. Thank you.
I mean, like, you had all these guys that, again, like, I didn't have a problem with them choosing, like, Dijakovic, which, like, sure, like, they should have just kept him as Dijakovic, whatever. Mia Yim, that's a story in itself. Dijakovic and Mia Yim. Who can we associate with the both of them? Keith Lee. You couldn't have just run with the story with them and made it a little bit interesting. Like, you have a huge angle there. You have Ali, who could have run with, I thought that they were going with Ali and Kofi Mania, because the whole backstory of that, Kofi was slotted into Ali's spot in Elimination Chamber. There was so much you could have did with this. And I thought that this was going to right the wrongs of Nexus, and you make it so
made Nexus look like the Horseman.
I know, right? It was doomed from the start. There was no way that this was going to be salvageable. It was,
and I am picturing Vince in the back now. Somebody's going, "Hey, listen, we want to put Keith Lee with these guys."
Who the hell is Keith Lee?
No, he's probably going, "Oh, a fat guy. No, I got plans for him. What do you think of Bearcats?"
You mean Bearcat? I'm okay with the Bearcat. There's good meaning behind that name.
That is true.
It's an honor Bearcat, right?
But the thing is, they're not even mentioning what the meaning is. They're just calling him the Bearcat.
Yeah, that's stupid. My favorite.
At the very least, back in the day when they had what was his name, Murdoch, Trevor Murdoch. At least they actually said on commentary that his name was in tribute to Dick Murdoch. You know what I mean? Like, why can't you do that with Bearcat? It makes no sense.
Don't get me started on sense in that company. All right, you're off to a good start. Number 6, number 5. I'm with you. Even though we talked about Retribution, I'm upset about it, but I'm drinking, so we're okay.
You got to bring it up.
It's on there. What do you got next for us?
All right, so number 4. You might be surprised that this is as low as it is. I was actually pretty surprised that I put it this low. Summer of Punk, I'm going to put at number 4.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the promos obviously were great. Pipe bomb.
Mike loves CM Punk and the pipe
I know. That's why I kind of put it that low, because I was like, all right, I'm sharing the floor with Mike tonight. I have to put it a little low. Pipe bomb was great. Contract signing was great. And then we get to Money in the Bank. Great match, obviously. Once we get past Money in the Bank, story just goes downhill.
And take my personal feelings of CM Punk away. You can't dispute that. You're 100% right on that. They took what ROH did and just couldn't, because
now
it's different. You can't take that. What ROH and CM Punk created over there was something that can never be duplicated. It was something that can never be done again.
Yeah.
Plus, Punk was a different man. He was a different character, and WWE is not ROH. So it's never going to have that same feeling. It's never going to be the same. You're right. It started off really promising and then fell the fuck off.
I'm gonna devil's advocate this for a second here. I thought the first 2 weeks of this after Money in the Bank were done perfect. He showed up at that Comic-Con panel.
Yes.
If you remember that. He showed up on the indie show and put over Gregory Iron with Colt Cabana. Then after that, they just brought him back to TV. It's like, why didn't you let him do this for months?
Yeah. So
you said on Good Friends, Better Enemies. Anthony.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Like, I don't have a problem with bringing him back 2 or 3 weeks later. What I have a problem with is that they bring him back with no explanation. And that's going to be a recurring theme in this whole list, is that I don't mind what they did. I don't like that they didn't explain why they did what they did. I was on, obviously, Good Friends, Better Enemies podcast, and I redid basically the whole Summer of Punk. And the way you fix it, in my eyes, you can keep most of it the same. Just give me a reason as to why Punk is coming back so soon. And that could be anything. I came up with, you say on Money in the Bank that you're going to have the WWE champion on SummerSlam, and start promoting that. At SummerSlam, you're going to see the WWE main event on the card in the main event slot. And then you get Punk taking the title away from the company. Now, all of a sudden, you get pretty much kayfabe, but, pay-per-view providers and the Staples Center, they're getting angry because the WWE Championship isn't going to be on SummerSlam. So you're false advertising. So Vince needs to bring back CM Punk and does whatever he wants for him to come back. Just little things to give a reason as to why he's coming back. And sure, you could, you can make the argument that the 2 to 3 weeks were okay. You could have done a little more, like show up at an ROH show or showed up here or whatever it may be. But, there's no reason for it to have gone as downhill as it was. And to dub it the Summer of Punk, especially where we got at SummerSlam with Kevin Nash coming out and then Del Rio and just everything with Triple H. Just go back and watch my Good Friends, Better Enemies podcast just to hear. I went through everything. Just it'll give you some better rebooking memories of what they should have done.
Do you know if there's a website where people can find that on?
I don't actually. Would you is it countedoutwithmikeandtyler.com?
Okay, I said it one time, assholes. I hate you both.
I almost forgive you for the Hell in the Cell shit after that. That
was a big pop on my part. To me, if they would have bunked, this is what I think they should have done with Punk, and you nailed on it. Do you remember what the Young Bucks were doing before AEW launched? They were just showing up at shows unannounced.
Oh,
they would show up at PWG. They would show up at whatever, like respected indie shows.
Yeah, they'd show up at ROH shows all the time, and they weren't in ROH at the time. They were in
but they were showing up on indie shows, like just as surprises, filming being the elite and hyping the product.
Well, the Hardys were doing that too at a point.
The Hardys did that when they were doing their broken gimmick or whatever. Yeah. But when the Bucks were doing it, they were not on like Ring of Honor. They were not on. They were doing it on indie shows.
Right.
But they would film it for their being the elite show that they did. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're walking up, but they're getting that buzz going. Right.
Yeah.
It was cool when Punk walked out at Comic-Con. Why couldn't we see him walk out on Ring of Honor? Why couldn't we see him with the WWE title in New Japan? Vince has connections with New Japan. Vince could have easily picked up the phone to Ring of Honor and said, "Hey, you guys want CM Punk for a show?" No, I think we're cool.
No, I think
we're
cool.
Okay. Like, obviously,
I mean,
we're in the middle of our G1. Yeah. We'll do without Punk. Like
any company.
Depends on Carrie's mood.
Let Punk work the indies for 4 months. You know what I mean? Bring him back. And then just have him show up in the crowd on Raw. Have him pull a Scott Hall without getting in the ring. Hey, CM Punk sitting in the crowd with the belt. Like, let him do what John Cena did at WrestleMania.
And you want to talk about Summer of Punk, like outside of the contract signing, the pipe bomb, the Money in the Bank match. What else could you remember that he did?
Not even his promo. His Kevin Nash promo was good. Oh my God, he's still alive! LOL. That was a pretty good.
That got a pop out of me, but like I can't remember anything else that he did. Honestly,
like I don't. Triple H.
Right job to Triple H.
Like,
yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I know, right?
So Anthony, you it sounds like you hit a struggle that Mike and I have every week, though. Like for me, CM Punk is like number 2 on my list. But then you probably thought of something else. You became number 3. Then you saw something, became number 4. I've had things where like my number 2 turned into my honorable mentions before.
I know,
like,
me too.
No, that happened for me as well. Like,
welcome to our struggle, man. Welcome.
There were a few that just like they were towards number 2 and then just fell literally to like number 8, and you'll see that in a little bit. But like moving on to number 3, and this was kind of a weird one. But I just went for it. Money in the Bank as a concept in creating new stars. So I have a list of the past few years up until 2010 of the Money in the Bank winners. And quickly, I just want to go through most of these and tell me if they were made a star from Money in the Bank.
The answer is no.
Right.
I already know. Yeah.
Going through this, Jack Swagger, no.
Who?
Exactly. Kane already was a star. Miz, you could say Miz
had a great Money in the Bank run.
He did have, so that's
that
one.
Was a good one.
Daniel Bryan was not made a star from Money in the Bank.
I'm going to say that it helped him.
He was made a star SummerSlam 2013
With
for
Cena?
WWE at least. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say so.
I don't think it made him a star, but I think the win helped him because he was in a shitty spot. I'm gonna give that a half point. I'm not gonna say yes. It didn't make him a star, but it definitely helped elevate him because he did get a world title out of that, and that's where the yes movement started at the end of that world title run, right? So
fair.
I think it was important that he won that Money in the Bank.
That is very true. He did need to win that year. I couldn't have thought of anyone else. That Sin Cara, fucking Del Rio, no. Dolph Ziggler. No, at the time,
Dolph Ziggler is the second best Money in the Bank briefcase holder of all time.
But think about it: is he a star nowadays? Has it helped him to reach that? That's kind of what I'm going with. Also,
it elevated him at the time, but yeah, that's poor booking.
But that's unfortunately how stars are now. Though there is no top star, and then you're the top star. You're the top star today. Who knows what tomorrow brings?
There's no draws.
It used to be. Back in the day, you were the world world heavyweight champion. You were a draw for the rest of your fucking career.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you're the world heavyweight champion one week, then you're jobbing on SmackDown the week after,
and then you're on main event the next week.
Before you know it, you're jobbing on NXT, putting guys over, and people forget you were ever world champion in the first place.
But
you're up there talking about Jack Swagger, who. At one point in time, Jack Swagger was looked at to be one of the hottest commodities in the wrestling world. He could have been DUI massive.
WrestleMania.
Right.
But he could have been massive. And and look at now you're going, who? It shouldn't be funny. But that's how people are booked now, and we've discussed this in the past before. It's Vince McMahon's fear of allowing wrestlers to be bigger than the company.
Well, and that's a problem. The problem is that there's no draws in the company. The company is the draw. People don't go to WrestleMania because Roman Reigns is going to be there. People go to WrestleMania because it's WrestleMania.
Because it's WrestleMania. People will go to WrestleMania even if the card sucks. They'll still sell out the stadium, and they know it.
Because I would go to if WrestleMania came to Toronto. With obviously without COVID, I would go.
You could give me the worst card in the world, and I'm still going to go to Toronto for WrestleMania because I haven't been to WrestleMania.
And I did that at WrestleMania 18, so it was cool. Like
it wasn't the worst card.
It's one of the worst.
I mean, yeah, like you just said, making someone bigger than the company. Next name, Cena. Obviously, didn't need Money in the Bank.
Who's that guy? Is he good?
I've seen him. I
couldn't see him. I just heard it. I just saw an invisible briefcase in the air.
Yeah, movie star John Cena, Damian Sandow. Randy Orton didn't need it. Seth Rollins, yes, that made him.
Yeah, he was
definitely made him. Sheamus, he was like a star.
There's another go home Heat guy too. Sheamus. Yeah,
I like Sheamus.
I've never seen go home heat on Sheamus.
I always like Sheamus.
Sheamus had go home heat around that time. Sheamus is so awesome in the ring, and I hate to talk shit about him because he's so good in the ring. But like ever since he came back after that night at WrestleMania with the "You look stupid" chants and the hair, he's go home heat for me.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, man. Of the last decade, I'm gonna put the Bar as one of my top 5 tag teams.
They were great.
Oh, absolutely,
they were great. But absolutely, something about Sheamus on his own. I haven't gotten into any of his characters. I liked when he was the Irish ass kicker, but then other than that, he's been go home heat for me ever since the League of Nations.
That was bad.
He's go home heat for me ever since then. I never recovered from it.
That whole thing was,
and not from an in-ring standpoint. I think he's so good in the ring. I'm not into Sheamus.
Okay,
yeah, fair enough. Dean Ambrose, I will say Dean Ambrose was made for Money in the Bank.
I forgot he won it.
Yeah, right. Carmella, no. Baron Corbin, no. Alexa Bliss was a star before. Braun Strowman, no. Bayley.
I forgot all those people.
Bayley was a star before. Bayley
was also made really and saved from that heel run, but that was separate from the Money in the Bank stuff. So Bayley
is arguably one of the hottest commodities from NXT. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so when she came over to the main roster, she already had that.
She was getting go home heat for a little while too, though.
That was really because they weren't doing anything with her. That was around the time when Nia Jax was on a weekly basis beating Sasha and Bayley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Bailey had go home Heat right before her heel turn.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Rounding out the list, Lesnar. Yeah, he really needed that money. in the bank.
Beatbox Brock was the best though.
It
Come
was.
Yeah,
on.
no, that was
amazing.
some
that
good
was the
stuff.
best.
Asuka didn't need. Well, she didn't need. Asuka. I should have put her on this list. But
That's another mess.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, and Otis.
Who?
So
Don't get me started on Otis. He's almost on retribution level with me.
the Alpha Academy. So out of 20 names, you have Daniel
Maybe
Bryan,
4.
maybe Ziggler, Rollins, Dean Ambrose.
Ambrose was already made for me too. I wouldn't even put
Exactly.
him on
Me
that
too.
list.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you're
Great theme
considering
song.
like, oh yeah, that's true. I mean, if you're considering like world champion, you know what I mean? Like, if anything, maybe that hurt him more when he was. No, I liked his world championship run.
Out of all those names that you just listed, though, there's only one person that got over bigger than the company. Yes. Daniel Bryan is the only person, but they didn't let him get to the level he could have went at. I really think Daniel Bryan could have been like, obviously not Hogan and Steve
I don't
Austin
agree with.
levels.
I'll never
Wait,
agree
you
with
think
that.
Bryan could have been bigger than the company?
I think Bryan
He's
could have
putting-
been the
he's-
face of the company.
He's trying to put Bryan into the Stone Cold Steve Austin
No,
Hulk Hogan
he's
boots. Yes, you are.
not there.
And you're so
He's
full of
right
shit.
under that. But I
It's
think
still.
I think if you look at the landscape of that time period and where they were pushing Roman, and I would put Bryan over Brock, Roman, Punk. He was more over than all of those guys. Seth
I knew
Rollins.
that Bryan
The
was.
idea of him was over.
Yes.
Here's
No,
the thing.
he
No,
was
no, no.
over.
Listen. Really, was he? Because the minute he got that title, did they give a fuck anymore?
I
No.
knew that
They-
Bryan
They
was
started
doomed
to
from
turn
the
on him
start.
right away.
He got hurt.
They started
months
turning.
They
on
were
him.
giving him Kane the
2
next.
months. They
yeah.
were booing. They were booing him before the fucking injury.
Daniel Bryan has never been booed in the
No,
WWE.
I don't think he was booed.
Ever. Even when he was fucking a heel.
On him.
Even when he was a
You
heel.
listen to his pops. They change after WrestleMania. They change.
They didn't.
I knew he was doomed after Mania when they gave him Kane as his first opponent, and they never know how to capitalize on a big babyface win. Mysterio, Kingston, they've done it so many times that they just don't know how to capitalize. So that's why I knew that like Bryan, sure, it was good in theory, but like he was never going to be like anything like over the top huge. And it sucked because I wanted him to be.
Daniel Bryan is my clear-cut number one for what this topic that you're talking about is. He's my clear-cut. Like there's not a bigger missed opportunity in professional wrestling than capitalizing on the yes movement with Daniel Bryan.
You don't think that they capitalized on it? I think
No,
you could
I
have.
don't.
I think you capitalized on it as much as you could have.
No, they blew it. You look at him from SummerSlam where he lost after Cena with the Money in the Bank with Randy Orton.
Mhm.
They buried him until and he was not in their WrestleMania plans. You can't like Stephanie McMahon and Triple H buried Daniel Bryan on air. He did not get a comeuppance. Shawn Michaels laid him out with a super kick. He did not get any revenge on Michaels. Like they just
I am
brought
of the
him
belief.
down.
I am of the belief that it was. I feel like it was planned. The way that they did it.
If you
was
gave Daniel
sort of
Bryan
planned.
the Roman Reigns push, I think your company is in a different place than it is right now.
No, I think it was smart for them not to keep
I agree.
pushing Daniel Bryan down your throat because you look at it like
They didn't
if
have to
you
push him down
Bryan-
the throat. He's who the people wanted.
Yeah, but that's all leading up to a Mania moment where he finally gets the moment at the biggest show.
That was
if
too
you were
late.
to have
It
Bryan
was too late by that point.
losing from SummerSlam to
So
Mania,
you're never going to be fucking happy then. So shut up.
Listen, I'm glad they gave him the WrestleMania moment.
No, but
I
whatever
think they
argument comes
missed
your
out.
way-
I think
where were they
missed
gonna
on
give it
that
to him?
level
Hell in a
elevate
Cell?
him. No, but you know what? I think they missed out on the booking from him until then. I think that it was just too. I think the way they handled it, I think they killed him. I think they hurt him. And yeah, you got that great WrestleMania moment, but guess what? Who goes to WrestleMania? Us. People like us. Sorry, I punched.
but
my
you
mic.
got to remember like the build up until that WrestleMania, like you want to say from
It was
right
shit.
when he left
feuded with the Big Show.
No. I'm talking
Yes.
about like the beginning of 2014, like right after the Wyatt shit. You had like the invasion or whatever.
That was,
you had a lot of good promos with Triple
look
H.
what
Like,
happened before
they
that.
saved it
In
if you
Seattle.
wanna-
I know it's his hometown, but that hijacking thing where they were doing the Night of the Champions thing, all
Yeah,
they did was
yeah.
chant Daniel Bryan. That moment
That was
with him
good.
in the steel cage. Tell me a moment, and you guys know what I'm talking about with him and Wyatt in the steel cage. Tell me a moment in the last 20 years in the WWE that had any form of crowd reaction like that.
But I think
wasn't
that's
in
the
his
point.
hometown.
Is that you needed that to kind of build him back up to that WrestleMania moment. Because if you were going to have Bryan lose, and then give him the WrestleMania moment, it would have been
him. They
from
did have him
August
lose.
till
He jobbed to
April.
Bray Wyatt at the Royal Rumble.
Right. But like from
He lost
August
to
until
everybody.
April, you're going to
Orton.
have him lose to the Authority.
Every
like,
month he
then
lost
you
to
would
the
be saying that
Authority.
it would have been an awful
He might as well
story.
have jobbed to Stephanie McMahon at this point. The only person he beat in the Authority was Triple H at WrestleMania.
You know why though?
And it was
Because he was
supposed to be Punk. It wasn't even supposed to be Bryan.
Yeah.
Because he was a B+ player.
Oh, I'm going to punch you.
Let's move on.
I'm going to punch you.
Let's cut to the chase here.
You have Go
All right.
Home Heat with me now, Mike.
All righty. Moving on to, but yeah, that was the whole Money in the Bank. It was just creating new stars and really didn't in the 2010s. But moving on. So I was flip-flopping around with my number 1 and 2, but I think I'm going to stick where it is. Number 2, Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, and the Wyatt family. I just shoved them all together because how could you go and mess up 2 huge gimmicks with the same guy? Wyatt family, and I've always said this, and maybe this is a weird comparison, but for me, the Wyatt family's debut was what Kane's debut was to you guys.
I'm with
I
you
get
on
it.
that, man.
I get it. Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I thought it was really cool.
Different. They built it up so well. The vignettes, I remember being obsessed with. I wanted to see what the next vignette was going to be.
Mhm.
And like, I really didn't mind where they went from there with Kane. I thought was the perfect guy to debut against. They were so over around like the beginning of 2014 when you had them going against the Shield, and literally Bray pinned Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber. That's how over that these guys were. Like Shield versus Wyatt has to be one of my favorite matches, just because of how, how into it everyone was. And then WrestleMania 30 happens. And
His
sure,
entrance was so good at WrestleMania 30.
God, Mark Crozer, man, like such a great fucking entrance. And like, I didn't have a problem with them having Cena go over because whatever WrestleMania, but then you continue having Cena beat him. And then you go from there with absolutely nothing for him.
I think they said he lost on like 13 pay-per-views in a row at one point.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I think Arn Anderson said that on his podcast. It was something ridiculous like that.
You have him lose to Taker, which could have been so much bigger of a feud. You have him lose to Reigns. You have him in just nothing feuds with like Jericho and just a bunch of other guys that I can't even remember off the top of my head. Ambrose. Oh God, don't even get me started on the Ambrose shit. Like, it became a part in the timeline where it was literally just spooky Bray Wyatt promo, do the Sister Abigail, spooky promo, and then he loses. That is literally the whole timeline of like 2014 Bray to 2017 Bray.
You hit on something that I really am glad you said. You said they're vignettes, right? And you couldn't wait to see the next one. AEW, learn what a vignette is. They don't all need to be surprise appearances.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's
you
my
know,
yeah.
and I love those vignettes because that's what we grew up on. That
Razor.
in the early 90s, late 90s, everybody got a vignette. Even from Triple H to Waylon Mercy, you knew they were coming in weeks in advance.
Razor.
But the big ones, they really put the production into this. Mr. Perfect for weeks had the most amazing.
Did you ever
vignettes.
see any of the
Razor
Mr.
Ramon.
Perfect vignettes?
Yeah, I've
Anthony?
seen them.
Okay, good.
Razor Ramon, Ted DiBiase, if you want to go a little
His were
farther
good,
back,
yeah.
were amazing. Gold Dust, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Great vignettes. And then they kind of stopped doing them throughout the Attitude Era. Like
William Regal.
Edge.
Yeah.
William Regal.
Edge.
Man.
After the Attitude Era, you stopped seeing them for a while. So it was nice and refreshing to see the Wyatt family get them. And they were so well produced and so well done. And
Carlito had good ones.
So interesting. Yeah, that's right.
Carlito.
And so interesting. And then the final product, what we saw of them, was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And
their first entrance gave me goosebumps because I didn't see any of their NXT. I wasn't watching NXT at the time, so I didn't know who
you
they
had
were.
to watch like that whole Raw. I was so just anticipated. Like it was like weird. Like I felt like a weird chill throughout the entire night because they waited until like the second to last segment, and they were still doing like those little. I think the whole story was like someone was on scene at the Wyatt compound, and like they would sprinkle in little things. I was like, I'm so ready to see this guy. And then he comes out, and it's literally perfect.
And it was so different than anything on the show. The entrance, the camera shot tight on them with the lantern, and then eventually when they got the fire, when all the crowd with the lights up, like their entrance at WrestleMania 30, I just thought was so perfect. Like
one of the best.
But it's like if you look at their character, right? It's like, to me, it was a culmination of like, what have the Wyatts been doing this whole weekend? You know what I mean? They've got all these voodoo people around. like if you're looking at it from a shoot standpoint, or a work standpoint, what have you been doing in New Orleans this whole week?
I need you to do my entrance
to this show.
man.
Like, you're creeping me out. Maybe it's because I was really stoned when I watched that entrance when it happened, but like I was freaking out. Like I love the Wyatts.
We talked about all the things that make the Wyatts great, but Anthony, tell us how WWE dropped the ball, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was just mentioning it just now that like Cena, that whole feud, sure, didn't have a problem with Cena beating him at Mania because it's Mania. Like you need Cena to win, whatever. But you could have just ended it there and moved on. Now you're going to have Wyatt lose multiple times. And when he does win, it's with a fucking creepy child singing in a steel cage match, you know?
Yeah.
And then from there on out,
which was cool, but at the same time,
it was cool, but
it
was just a nice blanket to cover up a Cena win, a Cena loss, rather. And then I was just telling Tyler, it was literally from there on out, from 2014 to 2017, it was spooky promo, same fucking spooky promo, does the Sister Abigail, more spooky promos, literally saying the exact same thing. Boom, Bray Wyatt loses on pay-per-view. Same formula, did not change for the better part of 3 years.
So how excited were you when this Fiend concept started coming around? Like the first time we see him in the Mr. Rogers getup, right? He's doing this kid show. He did that for a good 3-4 weeks before the dark stuff even came around.
Mm-hmm.
What was your initial thoughts? Were you thinking, holy fuck, they completely fucked this guy? Or were you in my camp going, he's going to do something big here?
No, I was so on board. I remember just the backlash of it. Like, oh, they made him Mr. Rogers. I was like, but they made him Mr. Rogers.
But think about who he is.
Right.
You like, you knew it could be a scary concept.
I thought they were going to have him like a cult leader, like a Jeffrey Jones. That's my initial.
Yeah.
But that character was so good. Like, like a backstory for me, my girlfriend hates wrestling. Like, you could not find somebody that hates wrestling more than mine, probably because it makes me happy and women can't let us be happy. And that's a woman thing. But she loved Bray Wyatt. So I'm just kidding, women, the one of you that's listening here. But she loved Bray Wyatt, and to this day, like she was all on that character. So it was hitting, you know?
Yeah. And if you remember, like we're talking about vignettes, there were vignettes before the Firefly Funhouse even started. And it was like this creepy, like the buzzard puppet.
Oh, the buzzard. Yeah, I forgot about that. And for weeks we were wondering, what the fuck is this thing?
And that's why I knew that I tied it all together. I was like, okay, it makes sense now. And there's no reason why anyone should really be nervous about this. You had at least like 8 of those amazing Firefly Funhouse, well produced. Everything was on point. The puppets were funny as shit. He was doing all the stuff with the rabbit. Like everything was so great. And then for a while, they were doing really well. And then I heard that there was, I think it was Clash of Champions was the pay-per-view, and then there was like an announcement from whatever arena Hell in a Cell was going to be at, that it was like Bray Wyatt is going to fight for the Universal Championship. And I'm like, really? This early?
So mad.
I was like, okay. So you do the feud with Seth, get to Hell in a Cell, and then the match happens. And then I'm like, okay, not great. And then Crown Jewel or whatever Saudi Arabia show comes around, and then he wins the title. I'm like, okay, at least they saved it on Halloween. Very nice. Move on. Has a meh run with the belt. Has some good stuff with like.
Can we talk about that belt?
Yeah.
The fucking title. Oh my
You can
god.
get your own for like $2,000 on WWE.
Yeah, right. That's a. But yeah, I mean the Daniel Bryan stuff was okay. And then Goldberg comes around and takes the title off of him, and I'm like, fuck.
He should have never had the title in the first place.
Yeah, no, he is in the Undertaker realm of you never have to hold the title, or if you do, hold it for like a few weeks, and that you're okay, and lose it in some spooky shit. You don't need to hold the title for this long, because then that builds up a credibility of you need someone big to take the title off of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Not fucking Goldberg. You know, it was okay. So I'm going on record to saying that both Rollins and Goldberg, both of those matches, I could see where they were coming from. As far as they were still protecting the Fiend. And I didn't think that was the ultimate burial of him. I think it really just came down to that whole pandemic era, constant exposure of him. Like, this is supposed to be something that you come up every once in a while as the Fiend. Yeah. And then it became a lack of direction, failure to capitalize on the fact that it's literally the best heel that you have in years. And it was just never going to break that ceiling.
Once Orton feud was terrible.
Fucking awful. Bad. And it just kept going. And like, he had the Universal title for what, a week, and then he lost it to Reigns for whatever reason. Like, there was I knew it was,
and the one and only reason for some they decided to turn him into this face character.
Oh,
for the one and only reason to sell merchandise. We all agree on that. It's the only reason you would ever turn a character like that face is to sell merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
But a character like that's never going to get over as a babyface. Never.
He was already selling merchandise anyways.
Exactly.
Right? He was one of the top merch sellers. I was at the SummerSlam he debuted at. I was there in person.
You put that character. That character's evil. That character is fucking. Could be the most evil character in the history of the company.
Yeah.
Yet you don't let him be that.
I remember watching that SummerSlam, and like I was like, the entrance, I was like, this is cool. And then I hear the entrance theme that's like a remix of his old theme, and I'm like, this is cool. Mm-hmm. And I knew that it was going to be something from then on out. And then it was the lantern for me, man. When you pulled up that lantern, and that lantern was the severed head, because I didn't know what it was like at the beginning of the entrance. And then you see it on the ring, and you're like, okay, I get it.
At that point at SummerSlam, I was at my best part of being drunk, because I got really drunk at SummerSlam. I ended up blacking out at the Randy Orton match. I didn't even remember Seth Rollins jumped off the top rope through a table till the next day when I watched it on TV. But like, I was at like my peak of like euphoria when Bray Wyatt made his entrance. I was losing my mind. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Like,
I'd like to go on record to say I would appreciate if you never said euphoria on this show ever again.
Euphoria. What a word.
Just the way you said that creeps me the fuck out.
I was trying to be kind of creepy / flex my smartness by using smart people words.
Before we move on to
words.
Before we move on to Anthony's number one last thing about the Fiend character. We were talking about the puppets and all that shit before. How much do you love the fact that buzzard's name was Mercy?
I know, right? Oh, so good. Huskus the pig.
Huskus, yeah.
Oh my god. Abby the witch.
He really thought this one out.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was so disappointed. You have this guy who literally is passionate about his gimmick. He's making it work. This is all of his brainchild.
Just
And
let it
What's next
happen.
for him?
Do you think he's going to AEW?
I think he's going to Impact.
I think he's going to Impact. He'll have much more freedom there.
I'm just excited to see because like how creative he is. I think when we see him again, we're not going to see something like Bray Wyatt or The Fiend. I think he's going to come over the top with something completely different, and I think it's going to be awesome.
And I agree with that. I don't think he's that kind of guy. Okay, I've done that. I'm not
going to come out as Barry Windham Jr.
Bringing his brother, why not?
I wonder if he bought the rights to Husky Harris, and he's just. I'd
be okay with that if he came out as Skinner Jr.
That would be awesome.
or reform a tag team with Michael McGillicuddy.
So you just mentioned the name Michael McGillicuddy, and we just said Husky Harris. Does that maybe have something to do with what could be your number one, Anthony?
I mean, what else? What else could it be? We are one, we are one, we are one. Fucking Nexus. Like, they were the right guys at the right place at the right time, and they just had the wrong people behind them. Literally, you had the potential to, and okay, so to set the scene, I start watching wrestling November 2009. Okay, probably the worst time to watch wrestling.
Well, give me the Survivor Series main event that year.
Survivor Series 2009, you had Cena versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels.
Oh, okay. That was a good Survivor Series. And they did the other triple threat with Jericho, Big Show, and Taker.
Yeah, that was I go back to Toronto. I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot.
I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot. Huge pop over here.
So yeah, bad time to be a fan. But of course, good time in young Anthony's eyes. So once I see Nexus, I am like, literally, what is going on? Because of course, this is fucking crazy for me.
Us too, and we're old.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was just so different.
And we hadn't had anything like this for a long time. Like, we grew up at the NWO, so you know, we have had this on the biggest level possible.
Right.
So in order to really impress somebody who's grown up with the biggest thing possible, it has to be fucking good and it has to be different. They could have fucked this up big. They could have been retribution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in the beginning, when they started doing it, they were doing it so right.
They were going up against Cena, Bret Hart, McMahon. Even McMahon took a 450 splash from Justin Gabriel. That's when you know that they're doing it right. He's insane. Taker, like all these, Jericho and Edge, all these fucking guys were getting involved. And it's like,
should have stayed away from Cena, man.
You had so much potential. And I look back on this to make like what would have been by that point a true and interesting opponent for Cena, an interesting rival for the first time since Edge. By that point, I wouldn't put Orton in that situation. I would say Edge would be the only interesting opponent for him at that point. And we wouldn't see an interesting story for him until number 2, Bray Wyatt, unless you want to count The Rock. That was a good story, but yeah, I would put Bray over him as far as a story wise. But like, you also just look, so like SummerSlam 2010 was a whole thing in itself. Like, obviously Nexus should have won. Barrett should have been WWE champion within that time frame. I think if it had not been for if Cena loses or whatever the stipulation was that he gets fired, Barrett wins that title at Survivor Series and beats Orton, because Orton was fucking stagnant at that point too, doing absolutely nothing. I think he lost the title to like Sheamus, or no, he lost it to Miz. Yeah. Like
Miz girl.
Yeah, right.
That SummerSlam match you touched on too caused a lot of problems backstage. There's a huge argument between Cena, Edge, and Jericho, right? Because Edge and Jericho wanted Nexus to go over.
And didn't Cena give like an answer as to why he like won? He gave this fucking political answer.
Cena's gone on record to say that he fucked up though.
Yeah, At least he admits
Tell
it.
that
you
to
know?
Wade Barrett and Michael Tarver and who are these
Michael
people?
Tarver,
You know, and-
Skip
and-
Sheffield.
That brings up my point. I was going to say, out of the original 8, only one went on to be an actual like bona fide fucking superstar in Daniel Bryan.
And he wasn't even going to be in Nexus.
You know,
he got kicked out.
Who would have thought, though, if you looked at that original Nexus lineup, that the 3 biggest stars that would have came out of it were, well, I guess 4. You can count Barrett. Barrett had a good run.
Barrett,
Sure.
Ryback, Bryan, and Heath Slater. Heath Slater was
Slater,
like super
baby.
over for a long time.
Honestly,
but none
would
of
you
them-
put him at number 2 outside of Bryan? Like,
you know,
I think I would, in all honesty.
as far as getting over,
I think
like,
Heath Slater had a better run than Ryback was really over for a cup of coffee. He
Yeah,
was
but then he
really,
just-
really over until that.
I mean,
Punk
I mean, at
NFL
least
match.
people know who he is. You know, 90% of people, you close your eyes and say the word Michael Tarver, and I can't, drawing a blank. You know, at least people
David
know
Otunga.
Darren
And
Young
at
was
least
in there.
Otunga got that little weird Carlton lawyer gimmick thing going for a while. So
Oh,
he
yeah.
was he was there, you know.
He's a former tag team champion with John Cena.
Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
And then they had the additions, right?
The new Nexus.
I didn't hate the new Nexus.
Well, Punk was in it.
I hated the core.
Oh, I like the core. I kind of
come
like them.
on.
I like the core too.
Come on, you guys have
Well,
been
it's
against me
taking
this
the best
whole
members of
episode.
Nexus and putting them all
Exactly.
together. You took
I like
Barrett,
Barrett. I like
Justin
Barrett.
Gabriel,
It's-
and
yeah.
Heath Slater, and we could talk
Exactly.
about
Yeah,
Ezekiel
who's
Jackson
the other
another time.
jobber
But like
that
those
was in
three.
there? Who was the other idiot?
Yeah,
Ezekiel
we could talk
Jackson?
about we could talk about Ezekiel Jackson another
Great
time.
run
But
at Lucha Underground.
yeah, that's very true. But
Last ECW champion of all time.
but I mean, without no core, you would never have Santino's The Apple. Santino, Mark Henry. Who else was in that? Was Kofi
Big Show
thrown in
and
there?
Kane.
Oh yeah,
Kane was in there for sure. I don't know about Big Show.
Yeah. Well, you had the Mania match with the core versus Santino, and that's when Kane was doing the trumpet. Oh God.
Yeah, the core was
27
really
was a
fucking
bad
The
time.
core was really fucking good, guys. Keep you're really selling me on this.
And the worst thing to ever happen to me on my birthday was the last member of all time. It was my 30th birthday, actually. The last member ever added to the Nexus, or I believe it was the new Nexus, was Mason Ryan.
Oh shit! Wow.
You just blew our minds there, Mike.
Yeah.
Jesus. Do you remember when he was getting those Batista comparisons just because they looked the same?
Yeah, exactly.
Vince was probably like, fuck, we got someone here.
yeah.
We got money here.
What a maneuver he can do.
He could do a few maneuvers on me, damn it.
Let's get Mason Ryan and throw to a La Femme Nikita commercial.
Jesus
Anthony has
Christ.
just discovered the greatness of the Vince McMahon throwing to La Femme Nikita.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Turn
that
on
was-
after Odyssey, La Femme Nikita. Wow.
that was a thing for a while.
Yeah, and La Femme Nikita just won our honor roll mention on the last episode of.
We have gone
like for
through
several
4
years. We had to put through-
1997 feuds, and
Yeah.
all of them have at least one La Femme Nikita ad.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
They used to put the commercials, not even in commercial spots. They would just throw the commercials
bottom,
or like in the middle of a match in like the side screen or some shit. You know, it was weird.
The next best ad after La Femme Nikita is when JR used to do the Skittles ad.
Fruity.
Fruity.
Yeah, I swear that's how his Bell's palsy started. Like he just stroked the fuck out doing his Skittles commercial.
Fuck.
Holy
Oh my
fuck!
God.
That's it. We've gone off the rails. It's official. It's not a count out episode until Mike makes all our faces go red.
All right. I only have one honorable mention, and you're both going to hate it. So I'm going to start the honorable mentions because I know you're both going to say it wrong. You're both going to shit on it, so I don't care. I've got a storyline that is not good. We'll all agree it's not good, but I'm going to say it could be saved. And the way I want it saved, you're not going to agree with, and that's fine. I'm going to jump over to 2011. Do you remember a very forgettable feud between Jerry the King Lawler and The Miz?
Shit.
I like that feud.
I liked it.
All right. I'm putting Jerry over for the title.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with that.
You know what? Though? No, I'm not. Miz was too hot at that point. That's when Miz was.
No,
over.
I'm okay with it. Jerry
I'm
Lawler
saying
versus John Cena at WrestleMania. Fuck it.
I'm
Only
saying
if it's
there's
in
a
Memphis.
Yeah, I know, right?
A missed opportunity to put a title on that man. A man who's never held a title in WWE. A man who is the biggest name in Memphis wrestling, one of the biggest names outside of WWE, never made his name in the ring into WWE. Give him that one little time.
I'll tell you what, I will agree with you,
know,
Mike. I will agree with you, but you put that feud 3 months later.
Yeah.
The timing was wrong at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, because Miz was still holding on to that title. So, I mean,
Miz was at his peak at that point. Miz was really good at this point.
Had they started the Lawler Cole feud yet?
It was
That's
right after.
It was
That's
right
what
after.
started.
Okay.
Yeah, because Cole was a huge Miz mark. So he was just going on about him. Yeah.
If you did that Lawler Miz
feud
another
go away Heat. Michael Cole.
Yeah,
another
Michael Cole. If I could have your attention, please. Good call. But if you did that Lawler Cole feud, Lawler Miz feud after WrestleMania, and put Lawler over for a month, and then had Miz win the belt back maybe before SummerSlam, I'd be fine with that. Those throwaway pay-per-views, I'd be fine giving Lawler a month of the title. You can't put the belt on him before WrestleMania, though. Like,
no. I just thought that it would have been cool, even for a 1 weeker. Miz picks it back up the next Raw.
Yeah.
Just and Miz is one of those heel champions that can get away with that. He can lose the title to a legend and get it right back.
Who won the Rumble that year? Del Rio. Rio versus Jerry Lawler. I would have loved to see that.
It. Take my money now, everybody.
I'll put butts in seats.
Yeah. Battle of the two people that have abused women their entire lives. So,
that's the
He didn't. Don't say it, Mike.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, Mike.
He didn't abuse them, and legally we can't call them women.
Jesus.
If they're under the age of 18.
All right. You know what? Let's throw it to Anthony for his honorable mentions now.
Well, do you have any? Because I got a whole fucking
Anthony, you take it. You take it here. I got no honorable mentions. I came into this thing. I just wanted to hear it. Take it.
Well, I have one that I mentioned to Tyler that I'll mention here. Shane McMahon's lockbox from 2016. They just never did anything with it. Do you remember that, Mike?
I don't even remember.
Why was The Undertaker working with Vince?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was the night he came back. He mentioned that he had a lockbox. That something was in it. I don't even remember what the fucking reasoning was, but he had a box.
Okay.
Another one, Dean Ambrose heel turn. Could have done a lot with that.
Yeah.
And then you put him in a gas mask, whatever. Here's a good one. The whole NXT tag team division throughout its entire run. Sanity, American Alpha, Revival, Ascension, Vaudevillains, War Machine, Enzo and Cass, Lucha Dragons, and the Authors of Pain. You could have the best tag team division wrestling right now if you keep
it was really good.
That.
That summer when they did NXT Toronto where Revival and DIY were feuding, and then went in with the Authors of Pain. That was really good.
It was great.
And then it's been shit since then. I agree with you.
Yeah. NXT 2.0, everyone. I threw Cesaro on here because you always have to mention
I feel
Cesaro.
like after that WrestleMania 30 Battle Royal, they dropped the ball with him.
He's
the only person next to Curtis Axel who was bound to fail anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Like they paired him with Heyman and it killed him for some reason.
Yeah. I wrote down John Cena heel turn because I'm sure there were some instances where it could have happened. I never really wanted to see Cena turn heel in the 2010s. I just didn't think it would.
On Raw, he twisted his heel, remember?
Oh, right. I was there for that show.
Oh, yeah?
Do a little heel turn. That got a good pop from everyone. Yeah. Well, that was after they said that Rock wasn't there. So we were just cheering anyway. We were cheering Cena because we were like, why the fuck is Rock not here? But, that's another. Anonymous Raw GM. They gave it to Hornswoggle. Enough said there. I wrote the Iconics because both before and after the breakup, because they were great before together. They had great chemistry, and then they broke them up for whatever reason. And you could have ran with Billy Kay, and you could have made Peyton Royce into something, and they just did not do anything with them.
Mike and I were big time fans of the Iconics for sure.
Same here. I'm happy that they're in Impact. They're first night they win the titles. The who ran over Roman storyline with Murphy, Daniel Bryan, Rowan. It was happening on SmackDown like late 2019.
Is that the one Roman like held Buddy Murphy against the wall?
Yeah, like
I
Roman gets hit by the
that,
car. Yeah, and like Samoa Joe like kind of was like helping out, and then they revealed it of like who hit him, and it was literally just
Rikishi.
an Eric.
I did it for The Rock.
And it was literally just an Eric Rowan lookalike. It was literally just another guy with no hair and a red beard, and that's how you end SmackDown. And they never talked about it after that point. Whatever. Another Daniel Bryan little moment from 2019. His special announcement that they just never said what it was.
Oh,
they promoted it for. Yeah, there was a graphic that was like Daniel Bryan is going to make a special announcement tonight, and then they just never said what it was.
You can even throw in the Daniel Bryan and the him banging his therapist or whatever the fuck that was. That whole story.
Was Gail Kim and the Bellas. He was dating Gail Kim.
Was that Gail? What?
Yeah, he was dating Gail Kim. The Bellas were like trying to hook up with them. They both were like loved him.
No. I'm talking about like way later on. He's doing a thing where like it's him and Nikki, and then some girl comes out saying he's like his fucking therapist or some shit, and saying that they were having an affair.
I don't remember that.
Was that Chelsea
I remember
Green?
Edge.
Yes, it was Chelsea Green. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, I kind of remember that.
And then the story went nowhere. They just dropped it. And it
wasn't it like Stephanie trying to like drama up shit between them?
Yeah. That was because she was feuding with Brie or Nikki or
one of them
or Johnny
or Johnny Ace.
You're fired. You're fired.
Johnny Ace is my favorite Bella.
Jesus.
My name is John Laurinaitis. And then what else do I have here? I didn't want to put it on here, but I threw it on here because it happened. Shawn Michaels' return. If you're going to put him in a return match, Crown Jewel of 2018 was not the place to do it. Yeah. And D-Generation X versus the Brothers of Destruction was not the people to do it against.
That's got retribution heat for me. That's we don't talk about that here.
Yeah, I don't even acknowledge it. And then last honorable mention for me was I didn't see them doing anything with this regardless, but the Woken gimmick with Matt Hardy. They started off okay.
Yeah, they blew it with that.
Yeah, they did their final deletion thing with Bray Wyatt, and I thought it was okay, but then like that was it. Yeah, and then you tag him with Bray, and then that was it. Yeah, that was another part of Bray Wyatt that I couldn't stand was when they were fucking tag teaming together for no reason. It was awful.
What Vince didn't understand, what nobody else seems to understand about that broken gimmick is it had to be done the way it was done.
Yeah.
And the way it was done was 100%. It was two men behind that. Mm-hmm. It was Matt Hardy and Jeremy Borash.
Yes.
Though it wasn't overproduced. It wasn't a team of people. It was these two guys with a vision. They fucking did it, and they did it raw, and they did it dirty, and they did it. They got this probably the best story Impact had told at that point in 10 years. Then they tried to do it in WWE.
Thing to look back on too. I would like to look back on that because I didn't know a lot about that.
I want to do a top 7 moments of the broken.
You can get a lot of good ones.
Oh man, when they were going everywhere and went.
If either of you ever want to check out Impact Plus, in their category section, they have like collections, and you can watch the entire broken feud from beginning to end.
That sounds like a classic match classroom written.
Yeah, I'll take the classroom on that one. Jesus,
it's including all the promos. All the matches, every match, even if it wasn't Jeff and Matt, it was anything that had to do with the storyline. It's in this.
That's so enough of a reason to buy that fucking network. Jeez,
really good.
Mike will give us his password and we will watch it.
The Impact Plus. I'm very impressed with the Impact Plus. The navigation
Are
kind
you?
of sucks, but the content is there.
Oh,
All
okay.
the content is there. It's great.
Awesome.
I wasn't trying to plug that, but if they were doing it like that, it would have worked. But of course, Vince has to get his fingers in it and do his thing and make and mold it into his creation. And it wasn't Matt's anymore. And it wasn't. And I think Jeremy Borash was working for WWE at that point, but I
Yeah.
don't think he had anything to do with that angle. So it didn't feel like like broken Matt anymore.
Not at all. Nope.
Although I will give them credit that they did main event Raw with a broken universe match. I'll give them credit for that, and it was good. But
I'll give them that.
that's about all. Yeah, I'm with you.
But yeah, that was it for honorable mentions. So that's my list. What are we thinking? What are we thinking?
I've got one more honorable mention, but it almost doesn't count. But I figured if you could use 2020, I can use 2007. I already mentioned it once. Let's go all the way back to the illegitimate son. They could have done so many cool things with that. The obvious choice is Ken Kennedy. We all know that it didn't happen because he ended up getting heat with Randy Orton. Yeah.
Well, no, he got suspended after the Benoit stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, he was running his mouth about how he's roid free, and then he got popped.
Right. So we know why. But are you to believe that you put all your eggs, like they went and Dr. Death the thing. They pulled a Steve Williams on this thing where they put all their eggs in one basket, and when that basket fell on the floor and broke, they had no idea what to
got
do.
knocked out by Bart Gunn. They didn't know what to
do. So now they're sitting there going, I have to do this illegitimate child thing. Fuck, how are we going to wrap this up? Midgets are funny. It's
we all got our things.
There's so many things, just like you brought up the anonymous GM. So many things could have been done that weren't, and it reeks of not giving a shit.
Right.
It reeks of not caring.
I'm with you. I love the list. For me, like I said earlier, so there's no point to rehash it. Daniel Bryan, I know you guys don't agree with it, but I think it could have been bigger than what it was. And I know we're talking about he main evented WrestleMania and got the moment, but I really think he could have been not Steve Austin. Nobody will ever be Steve Austin, but he had that connection with the audience that's unspoken that not many people have. There's something about him and that connection with the audience that he has that not many other people have. So for me, Daniel Bryan is the biggest missed opportunity for me. I love the list, man. There's some stuff I totally forgot about that you had on it. You did your homework, which I appreciate.
Of course.
Man, hit us up with any social media you want to plug before we take this thing home.
Yeah, real quick. Well, first of all, thank you, fine gentlemen, for having me on. If you want to hear more of my annoying voice and my stupid face, you can check me out on the Titantron podcast, myself, Antonio, and whoever else pops up in the future at the Titantron podcast on Instagram, at _Titantron on Twitter, or on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. I'm on the Turnbuckle Tavern. I don't know the social medias off the top of my head. Just type in Turnbuckle Tavern anywhere and you'll find us. A lot of great content there, especially if you're an AEW fan. They are all on that. Or even if you're a WWE fan, you can listen to me talk about Raw and SmackDown, although I don't know why you would want to. And then, of course, the Classic Match Classroom, where you can find us at CM Classroom on Twitter, Classic Match Classroom on Instagram. Again, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We've got some great episodes coming up. A lot of them already planned because Tyler is very eager to get all these episodes out there, and I'm loving it. A lot of great stuff. And and of course, make sure you check out, tune in after Counted Out 7 tonight, where you can find the next episode of La Femme Nikita will be airing.
Oh, La Femme Nikita.
Wow.
Wow.
But
yes, again, thank you so much for having me on.
And don't think you heard the last of Anthony right here. Anthony will be returning to Count It Out when we do the top 7 reasons why Hell in the Cell 1997 is the best Hell in the Cell match in history.
Fuck out of here.
All right, man. Well, Mike, first of all, Anthony, thank you for joining us. And Mike,
of course,
take us home, my friend.
On behalf of a huge missed opportunity, of getting Anthony on as late as we did. You should have been on here months ago. We've been counted out.
Cheers.
You remember